Welcome, everyone. This is Michael Gibbs, and I'm the founder and CEO of Go Cloud Architects and Go Cloud Careers. And I'm so happy to be here with you today to do and practice some cloud architect interview demonstrations. See, here's the thing for the people that want to become cloud architects, you work hard, you study a lot, but to get that first cloud architect job or that first solution architect job, you've got to pass through the interview. Now, when you interview for a cloud architect job or a solution architect job, it's not going to be like a traditional tech job. And here's the reason. We cloud architects are kind of unicorns of the tech community in that we're 50% business executives and 50% technology professionals. So these interviews do not look or feel like a traditional engineering role. And they don't look or feel like a traditional executive role either, because they're not. It's this odd, weird, amorphous role that combines the needs of a business executive and a technology person in the same person. And that's why these jobs are so great. That's why the cloud architect job and the solution architect job done right can lead to CIO positions, CTO positions, EVP positions, SVP positions, because they're so close to the business. And when you're a cloud architect or a solution architect and you're working with C-level executives all over the world every day, you develop a contact list, a level of business acumen, executive presence, communication skills, emotional intelligence that's truly second to none. Now, here's the thing with these jobs. They're not hard to get. People think they're hard to get. And the reason people think they're hard to get is people focus on the technology, which is half of the job, or they focus on other kinds of technology that are not architecture, things like software development, maintenance, automation, which are wonderful, wonderful, wonderful technology careers, but they're not architecture. And people, when they want an architect, they hire an architect. When they want a security engineer, they hire a security engineer. They want a DevOps engineer, guess what? They hire a DevOps engineer. So for architecture, you have to be exactly what the hiring manager wants. So we're here. Why are we doing this free cloud architect interview demonstration? Because I want you all to get cloud hired. I don't want anybody out there that wants a cloud architect job or a solution architect job not to get it. So that's why we're doing these things. So I'll give you a little insight. For those of you that are at home, I'm going to give you some tips. For those of you who are here participating, I'm still going to give you some tips. One specifically, it came from the book, The Art of War, written by Sun Tse, spelled TSU. If you know yourself and know your enemy, you will always be victorious. If you know yourself and not your enemy, for every one win, there'll be one loss. If you know your enemy and not yourself, you will win once and lose once. If you don't know yourself and don't know your enemy, you will always lose. So what are we giving you a chance to do today? We're giving you a chance to see the interviewer. That's your enemy. You got to dominate that enemy and win that battle to get hired. So to get cloud architect hired or solution architect hired, win that war. Know yourself, know your enemy. But guess what? You also should check out your competition. You should see what they know, because you want to be better than them too. So if you're here, you're going to be coached. And let's face it, I've never been on a job interview where I wasn't hired. And there's a reason for that. I've studied interviewing, and we have an interview course, and we've worked with hundreds and thousands of recruiters over the years to practice and master our interview technique. So we're here. So if you're live, you're going to be coached, and you're going to learn a lot, and it's going to be fun. And if you're watching, know yourself, know your enemy, and you'll always be victorious. So watch what goes on around you, learn, and it should be a great experience for all. So what's going to happen is I'm going to interview people one by one. We're going to give them feedback. We're going to be supportive. Whoever goes first, we have to understand they don't have the benefit of the coaching. This is scary. They're going to be on the internet. There's lots of people watching. There's already been 87 people that showed up in the first 30 seconds. So for the folks that are here, it's a little challenging. They're not like me. They're not used to presenting in front of 5,000 person audiences. Let's give them some bonus. Let's give them a round of applause, and let's get started for these wonderful, amazing people that are here for coaching, here to improve themselves, to get better. So let's help them out, and let's give them lots of support. We have some amazing people that are here right now. Some of the people are going to be going by their own names. Some of the people are working and they don't want their names to be seen, and we support that. So this is a chance for everybody to get better. So Chris, please give me the first cloud architect or solution architect to interview. As soon as we do this, I will ask them the background, and I will give them a targeted cloud architect interview. Or if they want to apply for a network architect job, I'll interview for that. If they want a security engineer or a security architect job, that's fine. I've been interviewing technology professionals for over 20 years and helping them get hired for 20 years. So let's give everybody a chance to go out there and get cloud hired, Chris. So you're in charge. You tell me who's here and the order that I'm going in.
Okay, there we go. Now I'm unmuted. All right, so the first person that we have is going to be John. So let me get John isolated so that it's just you and John, and we'll get going.
Well, that's some cool movement on the screen. I love that. Welcome, John. Hi, John. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, Mike. Can you hear me?
I can hear you very well. John, thank you so much for coming to interview with Alpha Bravo Charlie Company. It's a real honor to be here with you today. You know, John, let me tell you a little bit about our company. We are a fast-growing company. It just feels like that no matter what we do, we keep growing. Would you believe we've had an 11% month-over-month growth for the last 2 years? And, you know, it's just been amazing at how fast we're growing. And what we have now is we've got a really good, strong data center. It's been working really, really well. We've had 5 nines availability, lots of really great performance. The only thing is, it's like I'm constantly buying servers for our web apps. We're an e-commerce company. And, you know, right now we've got 5,000 web servers, 5,000 app servers, and literally speaking, 100 of these Apache Cassandra database servers just for our web app. And it's like, I can't keep track of it. No matter what I do, we've got a lot of things. So if you're a cloud architect and, you know, what kind of things could I do to improve my performance of my web environment? I've got this data center. It's running up and operational, but here's the key. It's not scaling. Do you have any thoughts or ideas for me or questions for me?
Sure. Yeah. Hi, Mike. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to interview with your company, Alpha Bravo Charlie. And I'm excited to see how I can fit within your company to add value and to keep revenue going up and to really increase the bottom line and add efficiency to your operations. That's a really great question around scaling. In my experience when working with other customers, I've gone into other organizations and have assisted those organizations scale their infrastructure in cloud environments, whether it be Amazon Web Services, Microsoft Azure, or Google Cloud, by implementing auto-scaling. This auto-scaling solution has essentially provided the organizations with the ability to scale horizontally as the increase in demand for traffic comes up through their applications. Is this something that you feel would meet your expectations for a solution for your organization?
Well, you know, I don't know, but what I will tell you, can I do auto scaling in my data center?
Typically, Mike, with auto scaling, I have only used that within public cloud solutions. I would implement horizontal scaling within a data center. So what this means is that I would add more resources to your virtual machines or to the host that your applications sit on. And that is something, if there is an auto scaling solution that is required for the data center, I can definitely find out pretty quick and implement that as needed.
Okay, sounds good. So you had proposed a cloud solution. Let me tell you a little bit about my business. Our systems are tied not only into our systems, but our systems are tied into banks, internal hospital systems, as well as 911 dispatch centers. In fact, if our systems go down, it's highly likely that people will die. So because of this, what type of cloud architectures would work for me, given that, you know, if my systems go down, people will die. So what would go into a really high availability, really high performance system, given that if my systems go down, someone will die?
Sure. Yeah, Mike, that's a great question. With that in mind, well, obviously we don't want people to die if these systems go down. I understand that it's of utmost importance to have these systems scalable and highly available. With that being said, I would propose to implement potentially a hybrid cloud solution, which would integrate an on-prem infrastructure and network with your public cloud provider, or a multi-cloud solution where you can use two public cloud offerings. Because in any event, if Amazon Web Services is to go down, you don't want to be entirely reliant on a single cloud provider. But at the same time, what if every public cloud provider goes down? Then you have your hybrid cloud solution and you're able to rely on your on-premise data center.
Okay, I really like that. So what you're telling me is I can connect my data center to multiple clouds, and I can lose a cloud and my data center will stay up. I can lose two clouds and my data center will still up. And in other words, my applications are going to run and nobody will die. Is that correct?
Absolutely.
Okay. Now, by doing this, it's going to create some complexities, but it'll also create some other things. Could you give me some business benefits why it would be good to do this from a cost perspective?
Sure. Yeah. So some of the business benefits to have either a multi-cloud or a hybrid cloud solution, Mike, is it gives you the ability to be agile within your cloud environments. So you might have business units that require a bit more innovation than others. When you're working with some of your applications, which I don't know the background of, but for instance, if this is a cloud native architecture where you rely on things such as Kubernetes or containerization, you want to be able to provide your DevOps teams with the ability to roll out different bases of code without necessarily being tied to another aspect of an application. So from a cloud perspective, and even an on-prem perspective, you have the option to be very agile and innovative. From a public cloud perspective, as I referred to auto scaling, this gives you the ability to operate and scale back on costs, say if you don't have as much traffic coming to your website, so you're not running a bunch of instances all the time. So from a business perspective, this definitely can impact your cost savings. And with some of the monitoring tools within public cloud providers, and even with your on-prem services, we can get a very nice kind of optimization baseline metric to make sure that your organization stays within a certain perimeter or guidelines as to what is needed to keep your company operational.
Sounds good. Here's a question for you. We currently have $10 billion of revenue and effectively $9.5 billion of expenses. So the organization profitability is quite low. The organization has $30 billion of cash sitting in the bank. Would it be better for me to spend money and buy servers, which is capital expenditure, or would it be better to move to the cloud, which is an operational expenditure, given the situation of my revenue versus my expenses versus the capital that I have that's free?
Sure. Yeah, that's a really good question. And Mike, I would say that we want to go both routes. Again, since this will be a hybrid solution, we want to make sure that all the hardware is acquired and provisioned to meet your company's requirements with these applications, in addition to purchase the VMs and the services within, or virtual machines, I should say, within a public cloud solution. So with that—
I'm going to ask you that question again. We have $10 billion of revenue and $9.5 billion of ongoing expense, but we've got $30 billion just sitting around doing nothing for us. Financially, is the cloud a good decision?
Financially, I would say that the cloud is a good decision for you, Mike.
Okay. So let's talk a little bit about this interview.
Sure.
So when I asked you about an architecture, you were rock solid. Rock solid. When I asked you about multi-cloud, you were rock solid. Rock solid. When I asked you about the technology and the benefits of multi-cloud, you were rock solid. When I started talking about business issues, it kind of fell apart. Here was the first business issue I asked you. What would be the business issues of going to two clouds? Is that correct?
That is correct.
Now, when you have two cloud providers, can you use them to negotiate against each other?
Yes, you can.
If you have two cloud providers, are you held hostage by a single cloud?
No, you cannot.
If I issue a press release that after Amazon's power outage, I'm going to Azure, how much of an impact can that have to AWS's business and Azure's business?
That could be detrimental to—
It could be billions of dollars a year detriment to Amazon and billions of dollars a year benefit to them. So kind of missed the business thing. Now, the reason I covered this operational expenses versus the capital expenses If a business has $10 billion of revenue and $9.5 billion expenses, they're pretty much breaking even.
Right.
They're not profitable for the most part. Now we go from a capital expense, which we buy once and we never have again, and we start renting the technology in the cloud. Will that cloud bankrupt this company in this particular situation, given the revenue versus expenses?
I'm not quite following that, Mike. So I understand that we have $10 billion in revenue, $9 billion in expenses versus the $30 billion in liquid. And your question.
Okay. Let me ask it to you another way.
Sure.
You want to buy, you have $100,000 of annual income. Your expenses are $99,500 annual income. You want a new computer. You can go to Dell and buy this new computer for 10 grand and you have $20 million sitting in the bank. Or you can rent this computer for 5 grand a month.
Sure.
Remember, you make $100,000 a year and your expenses are $99,500 a year. Which is it better for you to use the CapEx and buy it one time or to rent it for $5,000 a month?
Yeah, to use the CapEx and buy it one time.
Okay. So when I asked you that business question and you still went to the cloud,
yeah,
you effectively bankrupted the organization.
Right.
Now, so Jeffrey, if you had responded to it a little differently, if you had said, realistically speaking, it would make more sense finance-wise to stick these servers in the data center from a capital expenditure perspective. But having said that, if we go to the cloud, we can be more agile. And through this additional agility, we believe we can increase your sales by 3 to 7%, which would more than mitigate the needs of the expenses, which would make it profitable for you, even though the operational expenses isn't quite as good for you, but the digital transformation benefit or the scalability is worth it. You think I would have been willing to buy it then?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, so the key with the business is we have to be laser focused and convince that executive that you've solved their business problem.
Sure.
And with that really comes that acumen of what's in that financial statement, the CapEx or an OpEx. So, for example, now let's say we had no money in the bank, zero. And let's say we had $10 billion of revenue coming in and $1 billion of expense. Would it make sense to try and finance things, or would it make sense to go to the cloud and completely rent it?
You could go to the cloud and completely rent it at that point.
Completely rent it. So it's based upon the business case.
Yep.
I know where you're at, and I know you've got some interviews coming your way, so I threw a really challenging one your way, and you did very good on it, on the technical piece, moderately good on the business piece, so just really sure up those business things.
Sure. I really appreciate your
piece
time.
that you had there was rock solid.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate your time, and you and Chris.
You really did good with that, and now I'm going to do the other interviews a lot differently, but I know you're going to be interviewing for a job very recently. So I wanted to throw a real heavy-duty $250,000 cloud architect interview in front of you to give you the experience.
I feel like I should have put a disclaimer in front of that one. One, as soon as the first question came out of the bat, I was like, oh boy, I should have put a disclaimer that we know that Mike and I know where you stand right now.
Sure.
So I forgot to even reference that. So so like Mike pointed out, we knew exactly where Jeffrey is and what Jeffrey has in front of him. So that was purposefully geared specifically for Jeffrey.
Absolutely.
So
Jeffrey sent me an email that says, hey, one of these days soon, I've got an interview coming up. I'm like, okay, I'm throwing you the wolves and I'm giving you a hard one.
Yeah. So
you did really great there.
Thank you.
To clarify, for the ones that will be coming up next,
they'll be much more normal.
Well, they'll be more normal, and Mike will be asking them some questions, pre-interview questions, to kind of get a feel for their background. We knew Jeffrey's background before we started this, and I apologize for not giving the disclaimer. So, all right, but that was great. So let's hear.
It was really great. Yeah, and that's the key. The reason, what happens is whatever you say on these interviews, be really crisp, exactly to the point, and use no filler words. And here's the thing: any one of those filler words are going to be the things that we're going to latch on to. So just make it short, straight, sweet, directly to the point, and don't give me anything that I can actually use to pull.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, I'm getting all the names mixed up. I'm looking at my piece of paper here. That was John. I'm sorry.
That was
I
John.
think
Okay,
I
John,
think I said the
wonderful.
wrong name. I'm
I
sorry
think I
about
said the
that.
wrong name too.
Well, you probably because I said it. So let's hear it for John.
I'll accept that.
Yeah,
Good
great
good
job,
job
John.
there, John.
Yeah. So, all right. The next one is going
I'd
to
like to.
be
Is Millicent going to be on one of these? I would love to have her on one of these too.
if she would volunteer, she would be. So I'm more than willing to take anyone that volunteers. So the next one is going to be Malad. So let me add Malad in and make sure that Malad is there.
Hi, Mike.
Perfect.
Hi, Milad. How are you today?
I'm fine. I'm great. How are you today? How was your day so far?
I am doing fantastic, Milad. Milad, I am so happy to talk to you. You come extremely recommended from a recruiter friend of mine called Christina. She told me you're smart, motivated, and passionate, so I'm honored to meet you here today. Can I tell you a little bit about our company? I am the CEO for let's say Hotel India Juliet Company, and what we do is we make calendars, photos, and videos of cats. And we've had a really exciting career. I have a beautiful cat named Cindy. I basically work with a couple of cat rescues. We send pictures of cats, we make cat calendars, we make cat cards, and we take all the profits and we give it to cat shelters so the cats can live happy lives. So this is something I'm very passionate about. And, we've been doing it manually and we need some technology. So I hear you're a great technology professional. I'm here going to talk to you. So Milad, could you tell me a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, sure. Thank you so much for giving me insight about what you and your team have been doing. First and foremost, thank you so much for inviting me to interview today. Well, I've been working in tech for nearly 7 years, and it gave me opportunity and chance to work in different companies. I'm hardworking, highly energetic, and extremely passionate about presenting and designing solutions to the customer to basically solve their problems and bring their businesses to the next level. And as I said, I'm also passionate about presenting those solutions to the customer. And I've been working in a company which is AWS, which is Amazon Advanced Partner Network. And there, I'm always volunteer to present and like take a topic and present it because I know that one of the most important part of SA role is to present solution for the customer and engineer team. And yeah, we also provide innovative solution when we see a gap in the industry and a specific domain.
Okay, so that's really great. So it sounds to me like you've done some architect work, but really what I heard from you is that you like tech, you're energetic, you're motivated and enthusiastic. Is that correct?
Yeah, sure. Absolutely.
I will tell you this, the people in our organization, we're kind of like a three-man band with our calendars. Now, our calendar company has made, $10 million of cat calendars the last year, and we've donated it all to the cats. So it's pretty important, but we work hard. Could you tell me about a time where you had a project and, it was not a 9 to 5 project and you had to work hard for, say, 6 months straight to deliver something and how that worked out?
Yeah, absolutely. You mean to say the project that I did by myself or like out of the company or?
It really doesn't matter to me. The key is sometimes, what happens is a cat shelter calls us and they say, Mike, we just got an influx of 32,000 cats and we need photos of them and videos of them and exposure to kind of just help out. And we don't want those cats dying. So we got to work really hard to promote them. So, has there ever been a time where you had to work on a project where you had to work long hours, like 12 hours a day for a couple months straight?
Yeah, yeah, I would say I can walk you through that when we had a project in the company and we were behind the schedule. And basically at that time, I remember that we were working like more than 8 hours, and I also had to cancel, but I did it willingly. I canceled my vacation to just reach the customers or what the customer wants.
Let me give you a simple question. So we were trying to think of basically taking the cat photos that we have and get involved in some kind of a new things, maybe some cat mugs, some cat shirts, some cat cards, those kind of things. The problem is we have these big high definition photos. Now, once we make these photos, they don't change. They are copyrighted, they are watermarked, these images, and they don't change. So it's not like people are going to be editing these photos, but we have about 50,000 photos that we'd like to distribute to be used on cat t-shirts, cat calendars, cat mugs. What kind of storage would we use for that?
Okay, that's a great question. For this use case, I suggest object storage because, as you mentioned, that you don't modify the images that much. And as I understood, you will produce many images, and probably you want to do a query against that. And one of the advantage of object storage is when we save pictures on object storage, it also creates a metadata. And then we can make a query against that. And metadata is basically meta information of that picture or that image or that object, let's say. And I would say for this solution, object storage is the best choice. And for Amazon, I also suggest S3. And if you have customer from different parts of the world, let's say, then you can also have CDN, which is Content Delivery Network. And what it does is basically you can deliver, let's say I'm sitting in Europe, and you deploy your images in S3 in region like in Frankfurt, let's say. And when I request against the S3, then I just get the data or images from Frankfurt region, which is really close to me.
A lot of that sounds good, but you keep mentioning AWS names of services, and I don't ever believe in putting my eggs all of them in one basket. So could you give me some other examples of object storage on other cloud providers that are functionally equivalent to AWS S3?
Unfortunately not, because I have no experience on other cloud providers, but that's actually a great question. I wrote it down to go through after this interview to see, for example, what Azure provides or what GCP provides about when it comes to object storage.
Okay. How much different do you think object storage would be on AWS, Google, Azure, Dell, Palo Alto, Fortinet's cloud, or anybody else's cloud?
Unfortunately, as I said, I do not have any experience working with other cloud providers because I've been working in a company which is an AWS partner network, but I can walk you through the functionalities or the features that S3 provides.
Okay, so I'm not really concerned about the features of S3. I'm more concerned about object storage because we can't just use a single cloud. So let's take it back. I just want to see your understanding of the network and the data center technologies that comprise the cloud. When we create a server on AWS and they call it an EC2 instance, what is that?
It's basically a virtual machine that you can rent based on your use case. For example, there are some virtual machines that are very suitable for when you want to run the database on them. Or, for example, when you want to do some processing, there are different types of or different category of EC2 instances on AWS, but basically it's a virtual machine.
So effectively, is the virtual machine any different than the virtual machine that I bought from VMware 20 years ago in my data center?
Sorry, I didn't get that. Can you please repeat?
About 20 years ago, I started using virtual machines in my data center with VMware ESXi. Is this similar or different?
Actually, it's different because nowadays we are using hypervisor technology.
Always did. Okay. All right. So, let's stop it there, Milad. So here's the thing. When we talked about AWS things, Milad, you were solid. You knew what they were. But the virtual machine that's in your data center 20 years ago that was made by VMware, where they took a bare metal server, they invented VMware hypervisor, and then we created our virtual machines, Milad, is identical to the EC2 instance that's 30 years older. It's identical to an Azure virtual machine. It's identical to an Oracle virtual machine. It's identical to a KVM virtual machine. It's the same technology, Milad.
Oh, okay.
Now, when it comes to object storage, if we buy it from Dell and it sits in our data center, if we buy Google Cloud Storage, if we buy Microsoft Blob, If we buy AWS S3, they are functionally 100% completely identical to each other. So I don't need you to know the names of the services on somebody else, but I do need you to know this. So Malad, let me tell you what went well and what didn't go in this interview. Initially, you started off really strong. When I asked you about the tell me about yourself, Malad, you were rock solid. Hiring manager heard that. Hiring manager was really, really excited. Really excited. Then you talked about your energy, enthusiasm, and passion. And I pushed you on it to see where you went, and you were really good. Then I asked you the type of storage that I would put this software distribution, and you knew about the metadata in S3, which was good. You knew how I could use the metadata to search the data, to query the data, to truly understand it. Malad, that was rock solid. 100% rock solid. In fact, if I didn't ask any more questions right then and there, I would have hired you. The only thing is, as a hiring manager, I want to know that you've got the knowledge to take the things from the network and the data center and move them to the cloud. So I asked you some basic things. I asked you what an EC2 instance is. When I asked you to compare it to the VMware cloud, and you didn't think they were the same, that terrified me. And you know why that terrified me, Malad?
Yeah, why?
Because if you don't know what the things are in the data center, you can't move them to the cloud.
Yeah, that's right.
And as a hiring manager, I'm now terrified. I'm like, wait, I've got this guy that knows AWS. He's probably like an AWS community leader. He's probably certified in everything. He knows AWS, but I need him to figure out how to take the things from my network and the data center and bring them to the cloud. And you just showed me you didn't know the data center. So that's what terrified me.
Yeah, that's true.
And then when I asked you, the functional storage types, I don't really expect you to understand the name of the things, but if you really want to be hired on these jobs, you want to show the hiring manager you know the tech, not the name of the tech or how to configure it, but the tech itself. So know that a virtual machine is a virtual machine. If you call it Google Compute Engine, Azure Virtual Machine, Oracle Virtual Machine, VMware ESXi, or EC2, it's the same virtual machine. Nothing's changed. If you use Microsoft Blob, Google Cloud Storage, Dell's EMC's object storage, S3, it's the same thing. So that's really what I want you to know, is I want you to understand the technology. So the next time the hiring manager says, hey, guess what? We're using Azure Blob, and we're considering AWS. Okay, we can just do S3. So I'd like you to build a memory table of yourself of functional equivalents. What is a load balancer? Okay, if I get a network load balancer from F5, an elastic load balancer from AWS, a cloud load balancer from Google, or an Azure load balancer, guess what? It's the same thing. So what I'd say is I'd advise you to learn a little bit more about the network and the data center, the traditional stuff. And if you deliver what you did with that perfect attitude, that perfect energy, that perfect enthusiasm, wow, you're going to be doing great. You did really good on that interview, Malad. The lacking key for you right now is the network and the data center. So I know you've got some access to network and data center technology. So please just try and take advantage of that.
Yeah, sure. Thank you. Thank you for your feedback.
And Malad, the rest of it was rock solid, though. So you just need to learn a little of the network and the data center. And guess what? We have a CCNA bootcamp coming free next month in 2 weeks.
Oh, great. That's great. Yeah, actually, I don't have the networking background, and that's why I didn't know this question.
And that's okay. The point is, you did exceptionally well. Now, there's just different levels, and I want you hired for the best job. So I'm going to be a little rougher on you because it's a coaching session, because you're really smart and you had such a good attitude and you presented yourself so well. So let's give a round of applause for Malad. Malad is over there in Germany right now. Obviously, you can tell by his accent, it took him a long trip to get to Germany. He is a great AWS community leader. He knows a tremendous amount of AWS. And here we're just taking it from AWS to the bigger, broader cloud. So he can get himself a fantastic cloud architect interview. Great interview, as Mohammed Senshin said. You did really great. Leo, fantastic. Appreciate that. Jamal, great job. So even you can see people all over the world like it. Marla's out there. Yes, absolutely.
All
Leo,
right.
fantastic.
Yeah, great job. Great job.
You really did a great job with that.
All
so
right.
why are we doing this? And Ralph, we're just looking for the ability to find everybody's weaknesses, and we all have them, You start talking to me about applications, you don't even want to know what's going to come out of my mouth because I'm an infrastructure architect. So we all have something. So it's just a matter of getting a little better. Great job, Milad.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you, Milad. All right. So if we're ready to move on to the next one, it looks like the next one is going to be Malcolm. So let me add Malcolm in. All right, here we go. Let me remove myself.
Fantastic. Totally unrelated to the interview. Malcolm, you look really young. How old are you?
Sorry about that. I'm 20 years old. Thank you, Mike.
Okay, so
and that is
everybody right now, let's give a hand for Malcolm here. He's 20 years old and he's being seen globally throughout the world. So just by Malcolm being here, that says a lot. So let's welcome Malcolm. That's pretty incredible.
And that's where the Department of Labor comes in and says the interview's over.
Yeah, the interview would be over if I asked you during your age. That's why it's not part of the interview. I just find it impressive when I look at someone and they've got a smile, they look good, strong, with great posture, and they're young. So I'm loving it. So fantastic, Malcolm. Malcolm, let me tell you about X-Ray Yankee Zulu Company. It's a company where we make technology-enabled devices. Most specifically, we make 6K video cameras because we're big into the video industry. And because of that, we have an environment where we're taking constant videos and constantly storing videos. We generate about 30 terabytes of data per day, and it just seems like endless data, endless data, endless data. Oh, so now you know a little bit about us. Could you tell me a little bit about yourself, Daniel?
Absolutely, Mike. Thank you for having me here today. I have a background in security. I've learned about those best practices and security policies that are necessary in securing an organization. After I had a small introduction to security, I enrolled into Go Cloud Architects, and I am currently learning more about the cloud architecture and how to focus on business skills and focus on the business requirements rather than the tech.
Very interesting. Here's the thing. I'm pretty big on load balancers. I love load balancers. Could you tell me how a load balancer would help me in my organization?
Absolutely, Mike. A load balancer is a device that allows your servers to scale. And a load balancer is a device that also ensures that, also allows the ability for you to, if one server were to go down, it will be able to scale it, meaning you have created redundancy, no single points of failure. And with that in mind, you don't have to worry about one server losing all of your money or losing your precious assets on that server. So that is, in brief summarization, what a load balancer does for your business.
Okay, so if I heard you correctly, you said that the load balancer improves the performance of my applications and the availability of my applications. Was that correct?
That's correct.
Now, how does it do that?
Great question. A load balancer does that by they have this ability has an ability that I call a health check. And what it does is it sends a keep alive message or a hello message to every server that it's associated to. So anytime a server is expected to receive any information, it'll say, hello, are you there? Are you there? And if the server sends back a message to the load balancer saying, I'm here, the load balancer will know that it's there and it's alive, and it can forward the message to the server. However, if the load balancer sends a message to the server and the server says nothing, it's asking, the load balancer is asking, are you there? Are you there? Are you there? And the server doesn't reply, then the load balancer knows that server is dead and it needs to cut it out of commission and not send information to that server.
Okay, that's really, really great. Daniel, could you tell me what is a firewall, what it does, and why an organization should use it?
Absolutely, Mike. I like to think of a firewall as, if you can imagine a castle, and a firewall is the first line of defense from keeping bad guys or other parties away from your castle to keep them out. So it is the first line of defense.
Okay, great. Now, if anything breaches my firewall and I don't have a next generation firewall, is there another kind of security appliance that could catch the people that breach the firewall?
Great question, Mike. There is another device that after you breach the first wall, which is the firewall, you will have inside the wall a moat. And in this moat, there will be sharks, there'll be alligators, there'll be all sorts of stuff to keep anything busy that passes that wall. And that device is called an IDS system or an IPS system. And an
Okay, great.
IDS,
So
an
in other
IDS,
words, they breach it, bypass that big wall you told me about called the firewall, and they get there and they get eaten by sharks, alligators, and crocodiles. That sounds like some pretty effective defense to me.
yeah,
Okay,
it is.
I'm really liking that. So, could you describe what is IAM to me? Because I hear this term IAM thrown around the world, and I know I say identity and access management. What the heck does this mean?
Absolutely. As I came from a background in security, I was informed on IAM actually being a form of AAA, and that is simply just based authentication, authorization, and accounting. And those are the three methods that we use to authorize users and authorize any personnel to access data or log into specific resources in your organization. So, in short, IAM is a new, updated name for an old framework of security.
Now, Daniel, I've got these servers, and I don't want my servers getting hacked. Is there anything I can do to the server itself to make the server harden and make sure the server is more secure than just standard network ACLs and security groups?
Absolutely. There are a number of things we could put on a server to secure it more than just access control list. We could put host-based firewalls on that server so that we can keep any bad software or any type of bad actors out. We can also have anti-malware installed on the server so that we can isolate any issues or prevent them from happening. We could also patch the systems so that when any vulnerabilities, zero-day attacks that we don't have any idea of come up, developers who made the application can patch it and continue that cycle of security. And we can also finally disable unnecessary services on that server, as unnecessary services lead to openings and vulnerabilities that can lead you to get hacked.
Sounds great, Daniel. What's your impression of a Bastion host, and should I use that to access my systems or should I not, and why?
That's a great question. The idea of a Bastion host actually terrifies me for the reason that I, as a security professional in a background with that, have understood that you need to isolate every component and add a layer. If you have a Bastion host, you're basically having a device that says, we don't need any layers. We don't want any layers of security. We have a front door open, and here's a back door. Here's the key. Why don't you come right on in and let everybody in? And as security, there's no way we can add security to that. We need to decouple them. We need to have a set policies in place so that we can actually secure that system.
Okay, that sounds really great. It terrifies me too, but for some reason, there's people out there that think you have an wide open host in the internet with a backdoor into your system without a firewall, a DMZ, without any kind of VPN concentrators, and it terrifies me. You know, Daniel, it's been really nice to meet you. If I go to HR and offer you a position, will you be taking it?
That is a great question. I would like to know more about the position and to see that if I could be a great fit.
Okay, so Daniel, until that last second, you were there. That last second, if the hiring manager says, I like you, if I offer you a position, will you take it? The answer is yes. And when they make the offer, Malcolm, then you can look at it and say, enough money, not enough money, good benefits, not good benefits, perfect. So first, for Malcolm, wow. For every one of you, Malcolm is 20 years old. He's been with me for about 6 weeks. He's one of my students. 20 years old, everybody. He's 20 years old. He's been with me for 6 weeks, and he doesn't have a tech background. Daniel, blown away. 3 months, 4 months from now. Imagine how solid that's going to be.
Thank you so much, Mike.
Malcolm, that's incredible. And I'm struggling with everybody's names. But Malcolm, that's an extremely, extremely, extremely good job.
Thank you, guys.
Really good job. So I'm really happy with that, Malcolm.
Yeah, we need to get you shorter days, Mike.
Yeah. So I can remember people's names?
Yes.
As opposed to being there 20 hours a day, 7 days a week and not remember it. Daniel,
Yes.
you were that when somebody says that to you, it's because they're going to offer you a job. So say yes, and then when it comes, then you can deal with it.
Yeah, definitely. I'll always say that, yeah. Because you're not actually accepting the job right then and there. So you can say yes. And then
yes. So you
then
say yes.
Then you get into the nitty-gritty afterwards.
Because after that, you know what I would have felt like as a hiring manager? Darn, I really love this guy. He's smart, he's strong, he's capable. He doesn't feel that motivated to work for me. I need somebody that's motivated.
Exactly.
You were at yes. So
yeah.
Daniel, I'm going to tell you one more thing. Now, Daniel, let's replay that last minute, and I'm going to tell you one thing. When you get to yes, stop. When you get to yes, stop. Do you know how many salespeople I've seen sell a $300 million product and then they keep trying to sell after the customer said yes and they talk themselves out of it? So the key, Malcolm, is when somebody says yes, just say yes and thank you. Don't sell yourself out of it. So let's practice this because somebody is going to be offering you a job. Malcolm, if I were to offer you a position, would you be accepting it?
I would love to accept that position.
Okay, fantastic. So what I'll do is I'll go to HR. I'll have them put a package together. I'll be calling you soon. I'm really honored and looking forward to speaking to you further.
Thank you so much.
Perfect. You just said accept. You didn't say, I'm super excited. If you do this, I can do this. I can do this. I can learn this. He said yes. So, Chris, let's end that. Malcolm did it right. And that's what I wanted to finish strong.
Hey, all that matters is that you get Malcolm on the hiring paperwork. That's really all that matters. You
That's
could call.
all
You
that
could
matters.
You could call him
you know
anything else.
Happen after that? Then I'll be saying, "Hey, Malcolm, please fill out a job application," and then I'll hire you, and then you'll get auto rejected 6 months from now after you're already working for me. And heck, you'll be promoted. That's how far HR is from the hiring process if you do this correctly.
All right. Well, that was great. A great job. Great job. Great job. So we'll bring in the next person. So let me look here. So it looks like the next person is going to be Millicent.
Oh, good. A name that I actually understand and know, and I won't have to confuse.
All right. Here we go. Millicent, are you there?
Yes, I am.
All right.
Let me think of 3 letters so I can come up with the name of a company. So, VBN. Millicent, thank you so much for coming to meet with me today. My name is Michael Gibbs. I'm the founder and CEO of Uniform Bravo November Company. And what we do is we make healthcare solutions, healthcare technology solutions to help doctors, nurses, and hospitals save lives. And we're so excited to have you here. Millicent, could you tell me a little bit about yourself?
Hello, Mike, and I'm so happy to be with you today. My name is Millicent Irinci, and I'd like to thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to meet with me. It means a lot to me, and I truly appreciate this opportunity. I am currently 5 to 6 months into my tech career, so I am currently working and growing every day because I'm so excited, enthusiastic about learning more because I feel like I've truly found my passion. And apart from my technological skills, I have strong leadership, project management, and customer service skills from my background. And I've led and advised quite a few people in my projects that I've led and took part in with my team at Go Cloud Architects, which is the company that I currently work for as an enterprise architect. And I know that if I was on your team, I can make a big impact to positively help your organization and move forward.
That sounds really great. You said you love technology. What is it about technology that you love?
Well, with technology, there's not really the whole perfection aspect that you would have to have with a lot of different things in different fields. Technology breaks, but I seek pleasure in finding a solution to fixing the problem whenever there's an issue that we encounter.
Okay, that's interesting. Could you tell me how technology affects your lives and other people's lives?
Well, in today's day and age, technology plays a big part in everything that we do. Beginning with when I wake up in the morning, I have my phone, which also has my alarm on it that reminds me to wake up and begin my day, to work out, to make my breakfast, to prepare for the day. So it helps me communicate with my colleagues all over the world, in India, in Nigeria, in South Africa, and the UK. And that's very important because rather than just being confined to my work area in my state or in my city, I'm also allowed to reach out to these other countries and find people with these great ideas to help me assist my organizations in creating solutions.
Wow, so it sounds like technology has really changed your life in a lot of different ways. Is that
Yeah,
correct?
yes, it has absolutely. It plays a big part in almost all of our lives.
Now, you mentioned customer service. So I got to tell you, at Uniform Bravo November Company, I hired a couple of sales reps. And, they came highly recommended. They used to work at Amazon. One of them worked at Microsoft. And I hired these sales reps, and they were so excited to sell. They sold some things that didn't really work right. And I'm the CEO, and I've literally been there at every customer site, literally being sitting on them with my teams of engineers and architects trying to fix it. You said you had good customer service skills, and customer service is everything to me, to the point where the CEO is there with the customers every single day to make up for the fact that I had sales reps that sold something that didn't work. Now, obviously, the sales reps were fired because we don't hire people that do things that are not in our best interest of customers, but customer service matters to me. Could you tell me where you've gotten some customer service experience and how you've utilized it to help?
Absolutely. Well, growing up, my parents owned different businesses, and they don't necessarily have the best English in the world. And their customer service skills weren't the greatest because, when there's a language barrier, you can become quite frustrated when people don't understand you the way you'd like them to. So, they kind of relied on me to kind of break that language barrier. So from a very young age, I've also always had to encounter situations with customers. And I realized rather than reacting with anger in some situations to rebuttal the frustration that they're experiencing with the problem, whether it comes to their party or they're not getting the best service from us, I just like to take a step back, analyze the situation, and I always think back to how Chick-fil-A deals with their customers. Like, the customer is always right. You don't want to act emotionally because even if they were angry in the moment, there's still some room to salvage the relationship, to satisfy them and fix the problem right then and there. So I always try to keep that in mind. To maximize great customer service, you have to, serve the country. That's one thing I love about America. The customer is always right. And whenever you encounter employees in different environments, they give you the comfort and the luxury to, you know, kind of pay for the service that you're getting. So I like to give them good quality service.
I love that. Quality service really matters to me. Millicent, I've got two open roles here, and I'm struggling because, when I speak to you, you're so likable. And I have two roles, and let me explain the two roles, and then I'll give you some more questions. But I've got a cloud architect role, which obviously is what we're talking about, but I also have this customer success director role. So obviously the cloud architect role is about meeting with clients and designing architectures that solve their business problems. I know you're very familiar with that because you're already doing it. But I've got this customer success director role as well. And here's what this role is like. I need a 3/4 business executive with somebody that's got about 25% technology. I need someone that's going to work with my most critical customers, to be out there with those C-level executives and find out, have a daily call to make sure the status check this thing is going good. I need somebody to manage my engineers and my architects. I need somebody that when we need a new feature developed that can work with the software engineers, meaning task them out and make sure that you go to their managers to get the resources that are necessary. It's called customer success. And here what I'm looking for is somebody that focuses more on the business and can really help that customer. Would that role be interesting to you too? Or which would be more interesting to you? Because you seem very agile. You seem like a good business leader and a good architect.
Thank you very much for those kind words. And thank you also as well for explaining both roles, just because I wanted to see if we were thinking the same things in terms of the responsibilities for each of those separate things. Currently, I'm working as an enterprise architect, which aligns more with the what was the second role that you brought
Customer
up?
success director.
Customer success director. It aligns more with the customer success director because as an enterprise architect, I'm 75% business and 25% technical. So I know how to translate both the tech and both, the business language. So everybody could coexist and the organization can succeed.
And that's fair, and that's why I offered it to you. I have both of these positions, and quite frankly, I've had both of these roles in my youth too. I've gone from enterprise architect to customer success director, back to enterprise architect, back to customer success director. I personally enjoy more of the business, the customer success role, but they're both really good roles. So let's talk a little bit more about that, because you feel like you've got the business acumen and the communication for either. The customer success role is probably even a better role for you. It's more of a leadership role here. So let's keep talking about that. So, one of the things that are really important to me is when we deal with customers, and this is the same for our cloud architects versus it's also the same for our customer service success directors. What influences the customer's buying decisions in your mind? What makes a customer buy technology?
Well, from my experience, what makes a customer buy technology, Mike, is um, the ability to recognize that, okay, I'm not wasting my money on this, and it's actually going to help push the goals of my organization to grow long term and short term. So I feel like as a CEO, CIO, those are some of the things that I'd want to identify, not just buying any tech that's just going to sit there that sounds cool, but something that will help me be able to compete against my competitors.
Millicent, that's really interesting. I got to ask you a question. Apparently, AWS has certified hundreds of thousands of people, and I've interviewed about 400 people, and everyone said the best thing in the world is CapEx, is going from CapEx to OpEx. Could you give me a little knowledge on whether CapEx versus OpEx, what it is, or even why it's not just a simple solution of just shift from capital to operational expenses?
Yes, absolutely. Well, in different situations, most people are working on moving and lifting and shifting their databases to the cloud. So they want to weigh their options and not just jump right in there. So you have to start with identifying your capital expenses versus operational expenses. If you already have a great investment in your database and the technology you already have, you can create a hybrid experience so that you can still utilize what you have and utilize the cloud for its agility and scalability purposes, which comes in great handy when you're experiencing unusually high traffic or volumes during the year. You can't really expect different things, especially if you're dealing with things such as viruses or attacks. You want to be able to be prepared for those things. So if you do not have any technology, but you're just looking to inquire about certain things, I would recommend that you move to the cloud, because you will have nothing to buy and you won't have to wait, whether it's days, weeks, or months, for your servers that would satisfy the needs of your organization to come in, set them up, and different things like that. You can just begin right away, and you can figure out what you need to buy, how much it's going to cost, and go from there.
Okay, so I love that. Thank you so much. You'll be hearing from me in the next 2 weeks with an offer.
Thank you so much, Mike. And I'd like to thank you for taking this time out today to speak to me. This has been a great experience. I've learned a lot from you, and it was just a pleasure speaking to you because you were so kind to me, and I truly appreciate that. I'm looking forward to hearing from you, but I would love to ask if I could please have your email information in case I need to contact you about anything.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
Now, Millicent, what are you going to do with that email information the second you get to your computer?
I'm going to, within the first 4 hours, no later than 4 hours, I'm going to send you a thank you note, thanking you for everything, just expressing my gratitude, just to, show how much I appreciate you taking time, because I know how much hiring managers go through. So being in this position is not taken lightly.
Okay, excellent. So let's be fair. That was exceptionally good, Millicent. I'll give you the good. I'll show you the one weakness to bring it up. But that wasn't just okay. That was extremely good. I mean, extremely good. So Millicent's been my student for what, 2 months now?
Yeah, 2 months now. Thank you
So for
so much.
about 2 months or 3 months, from the time you decided to think about tech, you sound like that. So wow, Millicent, that's not just a little good. That is extremely good. So Millicent, you've got a couple of special things going your way, and keep using them. Hiring managers hire people that they like. You are one of the most likable people when you communicate to you that you'll ever want to meet. So that is your asset. Play to that strength. You're very likable. You can't see you right now, but what I see is kind of like, I would picture like a lion cub on the other end that looks soft and sweet, that looks like it's got the capability to grow into a fierce warrior. So that's what I see without seeing you, based upon what I hear in your voice. Because, we all talk to people and we've got little pictures going on our head, and that's the picture that I see. The lion cub that's growing into this massive lion. So that's a good thing. The lion's the king and queen in the jungle. So I love that. The energy, perfect. The enthusiasm, perfect. The passion, perfect. The communication skills, perfect. The executive presence, perfect. I mean, I couldn't see your gestures and things, but the communication between tones, amazing. The only thing that I would say is, on the OpEx versus CapEx, you have to look at the business case. Capital expenditures are things that you buy once. Operational expenditures are things that are ongoing. So like rent. So as an organization, we'd have to look at your capital costs. We'd have to look at your capital structures. We'd have to look at your expenses. And from there, we can make a better recommendation before we think about the data center versus the cloud. Everything was perfect about that except for that. Does that make sense?
Yes, thank you so much for your critiques. I'm so glad and happy that I have an honest mentor that is just, looking to see us all succeed. And I really appreciate this, opportunity to practice and grow and strengthen and sharpen my tools.
Well, it's funny. So last night I got a message from you on Slack, and you were saying, hey, in March, I'd like to start going out there and applying for jobs. And I got that, and I was thinking, she's been with me 2 months. She doesn't have a tech background. March is too fast. She needs to go about May, June, or July. And now I see you today, and I'm like, yeah, I think that's possible.
Thank you so much.
4
I
months from
truly
the start of
appreciate that.
technology. It's not normal, but I think you're going to do it. I know you'll do it within the 6 months, but I think you'll do it within 4 months with no background.
Thank you
And
so
wow,
much.
that was impressive.
Thank you. I
Very
really appreciate Go Cloud. Next time I'll be on camera.
Whether you want to be on camera or not on camera, I understand. But next time, let's bring you on camera because as an architect, you're going to be on TV periodically. You're going to be in 5,000 person people conferences. So let's just get you more used to the job.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Mike, so much.
You got it. A great job. Wait, it feels like my head's off of this camera for some reason.
It's because of the banner at the top, Mike.
Oh, okay. So
Yeah.
there's no place that I'm going to go that's going to make that better then.
So just stay where you are.
And I'm just going to stay where I'm at then.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. All right. So that was great. That was great.
That was great.
Yeah. So there was actually a comment that came in the middle of that, completely unrelated to Millicent. Thank you again, Millicent. That was great.
It was.
I'm gonna let you go.
And, thank you so much.
Yeah. So this comment came in during the middle of them. I don't have any idea who it is, but I love when I see these comments.
Oh my God, I'm so happy. Hi, Mike. Thank you very much. I just got hired by a financial company in Canada after watching your video you did with the television guys for 15 minutes in December. I am so happy. I am so happy. You have no idea. I am thrilled. This is wonderful, wonderful news. You know, the whole reason we created this channel is to help people get cloud hired. Anybody can get you certified, but going from certified to hired is special. Naformi, I am so thankful. I am so excited. Thank you for letting me know. This made my day. You know, one of my students presented something to me this morning and it brought me to tears. And now I see this. It's the second time today. This is incredibly great news. Naformi, congratulations. I am so happy. I am so proud of you. And I am so thankful for you. And thank you for letting us know. This is the best news ever. Cloud hired. Everybody, let's give a hashtag cloud hired in Naformi. Thank you for coming, watching the videos, and taking care of your career. Cloud hired. I am so happy for you. This is as good as life gets. That's the whole reason I built this company. That's the whole reason Chris and me and Leo do what we do all day, every day. It's the reason Chris takes phone calls from me at 11:30 at night, 6 days a week, talking about getting students cloud hired. And if you're just watching our channel on YouTube and you still got cloud hired, I am so thankful. I am so happy, so thankful. Fantastic. Congratulations. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful.
Yeah, I
and
thought that.
Thank you, my students and community, for supporting this magical person. He's got cloud hired. If any part of what we did helped him along the way, great. If he did it on his own, I'm still thankful. But if these videos helped him, I feel so good because my team and I spent about 8 to 10 hours per YouTube video. And some of these things we do for hours at a time. And if it helps just one person, we're thrilled. And you know, when I get messages like this, it just warms my heart. So I'm so thankful. I'm so excited for you, Naformi. And I'd love to speak to you. Love to speak to you.
Yeah, wow, I figured that was a good comment to bring up. Normally we don't put comments up during the interview sessions. So.
No, but when I see that, you know me, Chris.
Yeah.
You know, the whole reason we live is to get people cloud hired. So I'm just so excited.
Yeah. All right. So the next one, so we've got, we have Tony next. Tony. And let me add Tony in here.
Love to talk to Tony.
All right, there we go. Tony, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Thank you, Chris.
Hi, Tony. Where in the world are you today? Just so I have a concept in my head.
Okay, I'm in Australia at the moment, Mike.
Okay.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. I was just trying to piece together things. So, Tony, let me tell you a little bit about ourselves. We are Delta Echo Foxtrot Company. And what do? We make widgets. We make the world's best widgets, Tony. And Tony, these widgets are sent all over the world. So we are a global distributor of widgets. One of the things we have currently is we've got 2 really big data centers. And we've been using this for our company for the last 10 years. But our data centers are getting a little long in the tooth. We've got servers that still have the E5-2650 V3 CPUs, and that's our standard CPU, and they are 8-year-old CPUs. Dell's no longer supporting our servers. Our Cisco routers are getting really old. Our firewalls are about 8 years old. And while our systems are working, we know it's time for an upgrade. Now we have the 2 options. We're either going to upgrade both data centers, or we're going to basically move to the cloud. But here's the thing for us when we go to the cloud, Tony, we need guaranteed availability. I can't be at a single cloud provider's mercy. I don't want to spend a fortune recoding our applications to find out that the cloud doesn't work and it's too expensive to leave. And I don't want a single cloud provider going to kick me out because they don't like a comment I said at a golf game. So I'm looking for something that can give me a high performance, high capability solution. So I'm just letting you know what I'm looking for. So Tony, could you tell me a little bit about yourself?
Okay, thank you, Mike, for having me here. It's a privilege. My background actually has been in business transformation and management consulting. I've been exposed to a lot of business technologies and solutions to drive customer profit. So most essentially, customers have a problem. I look at their existing technologies. I now look at new technologies that they can transition to, and also manage their critical infrastructure so that other infrastructure that could be managed with other solutions are adopted, so that there's a balance between critical and what they can actually operate at little or no cost. So that's what I've been doing for more than 10 years now.
Wow, 10 years experience doing that. What it feels like you're describing to me is you're a business architect. Is that correct?
Definitely. I architect solutions for businesses.
Okay, so it's interesting you say that, because I worked as a business architect for a long period of time. A long period of time at Cisco. It was in the management and strategy consulting division. So where do you typically start your conversations? With what kinds of people?
I definitely start with influencers, decision makers, stakeholders within the business, like the directors, the CEO, and leaders of business units, to actually have a discussion on the requirements where they need some support, and actually architect solutions to be able to meet each of their goals, especially the chief information officer, the CEO, and also the financial director. So I work with those three principal stakeholders.
That's pretty interesting. We're not always this lucky to get someone from your background. So I'm going to ask you some different kinds of questions, because I think you could be a very special architect if you understand the technology. But I'm not sure, because you're coming from a different industry, so I want to find out. But I love in that business architect background. I had it myself. So what's the relationship in your experience between technology and efficiency and workflows? Could you kind of talk about the relationship of those three?
Yes, workflows are determined by critical processes, and also processes that can be managed by another provider. That means the company looks at its strengths, weakness, opportunities, and threats. Then whatever is the strength, they capitalize on that by spending more on that project because they can control it. While the weakness, they look at other adoptions, innovations that they could actually introduce to their business that could make them competitive against a competition. Then the opportunities are new virgin grounds, where maybe first come advantage, maybe a new deployment, a new business, a new demand by a customer. And the threats are where they see they do not have the strength, so they outsource such businesses to professionals and focus on the critical business that they have more control over. So,
no, that makes sense. So, we're here talking to you about cloud. How is the cloud transformational? What makes it different than the network in the data center, given that it's just a virtual network in a data center? Why should I consider the cloud?
Well, the cloud helps you to be able to quickly move to market. You go to market strategy for a business, because sometimes if you don't move to the market quickly and you don't have the enabling technology to move to the market quickly, you're overtaken by your competitors. So technology, like the data center, is where you have your critical resources. Now, when you are trying to scale your business as quickly as possible, the cloud gives you that agility to go to market quickly, manage your customers, especially if there's actually an increase in demand at a particular time of the year. So you can actually rent those services on the cloud. So I would look at a hybrid cloud solution for that kind of business, where you need to actually meet sudden demand, and you do not have the time to be able to purchase those resources because you cannot, your competition will overtake you. So it's better such users are managed on the cloud, while your critical infrastructure, that is, you must use them on a daily basis, you control within your own data center. So a hybrid cloud solution will actually be where you can make your profits, manage your expenditures, and also scale. And you can actually control all that within a strategy that your business adopts.
Okay, I really like that. Everything you said made sense. Now, given that my technology is 10 years old, does it make sense to build a hybrid data center for me? Or should I consider multiple clouds, like 2 of them? And what and why? Because, I mean, there's no right answer here. I'm just looking for your justification.
Yes, I would actually recommend a multi-cloud solution where you have several cloud providers and actually that provide operational needs based on demand of your services at any point in the business where you need to actually scale your resources. Instead of buying more servers, buying more applications, you can actually offload that into the cloud, and actually for redundancy purposes, so that you do not, your business doesn't break or you're not able to scale as quickly as possible. You're able to maintain availability all year round by having several cloud services like AWS, like Google Cloud, and even Azure, and manage those applications that actually increase over time and decrease over time. So your critical infrastructure, your data center is there where you manage your security, where you manage your database, where you manage your critical infrastructure is maintained there, while the cloud, multi-cloud deployment helps you to manage users, customers that need your services, making purchases from you, and storing who needs access to maybe some information from your technology, like your software. You can actually offload that on the cloud and making sure that you do not depend on one cloud provider. You have options as much as possible so that you have control and you're not locked in, and your business suffers a loss because of that.
Well, I got to tell you, I really like that. Now, out of curiosity's sake, I just want to hear how you think. If the servers I had were 3 months old and the biggest, baddest 128 core servers with 6 terabytes of RAM, would that change your answer?
No, rather, I will actually upgrade them to the latest technology and keep uh, a standby virtual data center to be able to manage services that would need to increase in the future. So instead of, yeah.
So what you're saying is with those new modern servers, keep them, use the data center, turn it into a cloud, but still connect to the other clouds for the transformational services?
Correct. Exactly.
Okay, Tony. Well, Tony, I really like this. So why should I hire you?
Okay, I love technology. I've been using technology for a long time to solve customer solutions, and I love helping customers meet that satisfaction when they're able to solve problems, make profit, they're happy, people get paid, is the goodwill they enjoy. It gives me that emotional satisfaction that yes, people are solving their problems. So I love solving problems, and technology helps me to be able to deliver that solution quickly and also get that immediate satisfaction from customers. So I love the feeling that comes with solving problems.
Okay, so Tony, there's not a chance that you wouldn't have been hired on an interview like that. But you didn't just deliver any interview. That's a $300,000 plus architect interview you did. Now, what was so special about it is you kicked it off strong. In the first 5 seconds, you told me what it was about you that was so special. You had an energy, enthusiasm, and a passion that you could feel. The executive presence there was very clear. Your vocal tone was there. You made a point. You paused. You were extraordinarily articulate. You communicated in CXO relevant terms. We talked all about the business. You talked about the stakeholders that you were going to go to, the leadership, the decision makers. It was spot on. We talked about, communications and skills. It was spot on. Reality is, I can't find anything with it that I didn't love. That was exceptionally good. What that felt like was I was interviewing somebody from McKinsey who was also a cloud architect. You have an MBA there, Tony?
I have something like an MBA. It's called MNIA for Management Consultants. It's similar to an MBA, but for management consultants. Yeah.
Okay, because you had that MBA feel. It was very executive. You know, you hit me with that business architecture in the first 5 minutes. You didn't use the term business architect, which I would if I was you. But, you know, you hit it with that management consultant. Why do I love management consulting? Because what did you do? You just told me, you ask the customer about their goals and you design a solution. What's the cloud architect do? Ask the customer about the goals and design a solution. You just told me that you're an expert at the job and you've been doing it for over 10 years. And then you communicated it to me in a level that was second to none. So
Yeah, I wanted
my
to
students that are out there, watch this. This is good.
Yeah, I wanted to chime in there. That was we talk about the interview and how the interview should feel. And the best interviews are when it feels like you're having a conversation. And that was just I felt like I was just listening to two people at a coffee shop, just having a conversation. That's what it felt like to me.
And that was what was really happening.
Yeah.
See, Tony took such control over it. He acted as an executive. The second I heard him speak, I knew I was talking to an executive. There was not a question in my mind that I was dealing with someone that wasn't a peer. Right then and there, he identified himself as a peer, and I heard it, and I was like, okay, he's interviewing me, I'm interviewing him, we're peers, let's just talk. Yep. So that's really the key, is you find that the first couple of seconds, you create that rapport instantly, and then you build upon that rapport. It's clear. That was exceptional, Tony.
Yep. Thank you, Mike.
Exceptional. And I just found out that person that actually got that job is Samoa's cousin, which is even better because Samoa is my good friend. And actually, you know, we speak to Samoa, and 49 of my people are working with Samoa right now. So that's even more exciting to know it came from a friend. But yes, Millicent, he demonstrated competency. You could hear the authority. You could feel the executive presence. You could feel that he's got the ability to come in and take charge. Now, if you interviewed him and you heard that, who wouldn't be comfortable and confident?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the comfort, the level of comfort that he portrayed, that alone, right, it goes a long way in an interview. When you're an interviewer, you can pick up on someone's comfort level, and that changes the entire perspective of the interview.
Yeah. Because what do I want if I'm a smart hiring manager? What do I truly want? What does a good manager want? They want to hire people that are better and smarter than they are, and they bring the best people they have in the room. So I spoke to you. You picked up as a peer. Oof, that was excellent.
Well, there any feedback? Any places to improve? Because I like working on my weakness.
I'd be
10% more crisp and shorter to the point.
Yes,
Okay.
that
10%.
That and speed. So your speed just a little bit.
Okay.
And the crispness but still just a small degree. Just a small degree.
Yeah, and that's what when we run into these things that are so perfect, you know, the only thing that, you know, Chris picked up on the speed is here. So when I spent, you don't want to know what I spent for executive coaching and soft skills and executive presence training. The one thing they said to me, which I want you to keep in mind, Tony, is you are an authority and you are an expert. And because what you have to say is so valuable, and what you talked to me about was so valuable, don't be in a rush to get it out. Mm-hmm. So slow it down a little bit because you're not in a rush, but not so much that you lose the energy. Right. So like I said, 5-10% and no more, because it's that good.
Yeah. And the speed also may be negated if we saw you. Like then the speed, if we could see you and see the lips moving along with the words, then the speed probably wouldn't have been such an issue. That's how small of a degree the speed was an issue.
And I also didn't see, like, for example, if you sit like this, you know, hi, my name is Mike versus, come out and change your posture and things. If you've been a management consultant, I'm sure you've had some training there. And if I could see you, I would coach that too. But that's really the only thing that I'd be really mindful of is just, make sure you just slow it down just like 5%. Otherwise, it's really, really, really perfect.
Yep.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Great job. Great job.
Really
All
great
right.
job. I'm really excited.
So we will let Tony go, and we will bring in the next person. So the next person is going to be Eve. So let me add Eve in here. Eve, are you there?
I'm here.
All right, perfect. So I am going to remove myself.
Hello, Eve. Thank you so much for coming in today. It's such a pleasure to have you at Romeo Tango Yankee Company, for which I'm the CEO. So could you tell me a little bit about yourself, Eve?
Yes, I thank you, Mike, for having me. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to talk to you at Romeo Tango and Yankee. I'm a cybersecurity analyst. Actually, I started my career as a Unix system admin, and I worked as a Unix system admin for a long time, for several years, and then I moved from that to security, and then to cloud. So basically, I've been working in the cloud aspect of cybersecurity. Just making sure that we have security measures in place. Designed, for the cloud-based infrastructure.
Fantastic. So you said security and you said Unix and Linux, two things that I'm near and dear to my heart. So what is the standard firewall that exists in Red Hat? What's that called, the one that comes naturally with it?
Well, the one that comes naturally with Red Hat, I'm not sure because I worked with AIX. And,
You work with what kind of Linux?
AIX, no, Unix, not Linux.
Oh, you worked on Unix. Okay,
Yeah,
that's
it
fair
was
play.
AIX. Yes.
I really love that HP
I did.
AIX stuff all this back. Okay, fair play. So that was a long time ago then.
Yes.
Okay, fair play. So let's talk about security then. So you said you're working in security. Could you tell me how a content delivery network would protect a web app from a DDoS attack, or at least partially?
Yes, I can do that. Thank you for having excuse me, I'm sorry. Thank you for giving me that question. For content delivery, basically you have to make sure that you have IDS and IPS in place. For the content delivery, you have to make sure that you have so for content delivery, basically, I'm thinking here like in S3 bucket, uh, in S3 bucket aspect. I'm not sure if that's exactly what you are referring to, because basically I work with S3 bucket, the EBS, and the file system. Would
That's
that
okay.
be?
I was actually asking how like a content delivery network could actually stop an attack or potentially stop a DDoS attack. So if that's not something it works with, we can just go to something else.
I mean, I can tell you basically, what are the things that I use as far as security in the cloud, but not really on content delivery. Yeah, so.
Okay.
I
Well,
can
that's
also
fine.
talk to you about defense in depth. Basically.
Okay, let's talk about defense in depth. Let's talk
Okay.
about how we would secure a web environment. I'll give you the content delivery network, and I'll tell you that the content delivery network won't forward invalid requests to the web server. And that way we can block a DDoS attack by saying if we had 15,000 ping of deaths, they wouldn't even make it past the content delivery network or half open HTTPS requests. So that's why we're using the content delivery network. But starting from the firewall then, working on traditional enterprise security, how we can do it.
Okay, so basically, the firewall defense in depth is basically like a layers of firewall that we put in place, starting from the physical security, and that will be, the firewall, making sure that the firewall rules are set, for incoming traffic, and after that, there is also like a network firewall that you put in place because one um one layer of security is not always enough, so you always want to make sure that you have like different layers of security, up to the data level. So we have the physical layer, we have the network layer, which is the access point. And from there, there's also a system layer and a data security layer. And there's a software layer on the defense in depth, and that's where you have basically you have like the patches in there for the data. You have the patches, you have the anti-malware software. And as far as for the actual system, let's say like EC2 instance, for example, you have security groups configured for that layer. And for the subnet, of course, going back out for the subnet, you also have a layer there. So that's basically having different layers for each layers of the infrastructure.
Okay, so if I heard you correctly, you're saying we're going to have a content delivery network, then we're going to have a firewall keeping bad actors out, then we'll have an intrusion detection, intrusion prevention system, then we'll use a network ACL to protect the subnet, then we'll use a security group to protect the host, and then what we'll do is on the server, we'll install a host-based firewall, we'll add some anti-malware protection, we'll disable all those unnecessary services, and then we'll patch it, and then we'll use some identity and access management, maybe we'll encrypt our data. Is that what you're describing?
That's what I was trying to describe, yes.
Okay, perfect. That
I'm
sounds
just a
great.
bit nervous, I'm sorry.
That's okay. It's okay. This is a training experience. That's why I'm helping you along the way. We all get better every day. It's a good thing. Okay, so in the cloud, if I want to use an enterprise grade firewall, I can't go to the cloud and stick a Cisco firewall there. And WAF only protects against layer 7, so WAF doesn't provide security. So if I need internet security in the cloud, I'm never going to use the cloud providers like web application firewall. I'm going to need something robust. So how can I use a firewall from the marketplace in either AWS, Azure, or Google and make it high availability and redundant to make sure that I don't have any single points of failure and I can actually integrate enterprise grade security in the cloud?
Okay, so for that, you have to use the load balancer. And basically, with that, you just, for redundancy, you just, excuse me, I'm sorry. You have to use the load balancer, and then, that helps to, prevent, if one is down, it can pick up from the other one. So.
Okay, great. What kind of load balancer do I use? Either an application one or a network one?
Network.
Good, because it's a network device. Fantastic. So, describe identity and access to management to me. Can you tell me what that is in terms that a CEO can understand?
Yes, identity and access management, basically, just making sure, the authorization and the authentication, making sure that, the system is identified, you identify the right candidate to actually authenticate them into the system. It's basically, talking about authentication, authorization, and accounting. So basically, the authentication is making sure that you have a password for your identification, whether it's biometrics, whether it's multi-factor authentication, and for authorization, making sure that the policy is applied as to whatever you've been authenticated with. The subject is actually the subjects can actually, I'm sorry, the word is not coming to me. The subject is can actually get into the object, that is being authorized to do. And then, of course, accounting, which is auditing, making sure that there's login and monitoring available. So that's basically what identity and access management is.
Okay, I'm going to summarize to make sure I heard you correctly. Are you say that authentication is identifying who the user is and whether and authorization is determining what they're allowed to do, and accounting is keeping track of what they've done?
Yes.
Okay, fantastic.
Yes, authentication is basically, with the password, of course, identifying the user. So yes.
Where do you put your web servers? What's that type of area called? It's got a special name. 3 letters is typically abbreviated.
What? Where do you put your?
Where do you put your externally facing servers, or where would you put a VPN concentrator, for example? What is that environment where you take a firewall and you create, and in the firewall you create
DMZ?
Yeah, okay, good. The
Yes,
demilitarized zone, exactly.
Yes.
So your VPN concentrators will always be in your demilitarized zone.
Right.
Your firewalls will always be in your demilitarized zone, et cetera, et cetera. What's meant by stateful when we talk about firewalls?
Stateful means that whatever you configure for incoming traffic will also, whatever rule that is configured for incoming traffic is also used for outgoing traffic.
Okay, so what stateful means is I keep track of everything that you're doing. So if you came into my house and I watched you come in and I saw that you came in and say I stamped your hand with a little sticker that said I was watching it, and then you left the door, I'd allow you back in because I could see that you're returning traffic because I'm watching or paying attention. The fact that I'm watching is the reason you only have to apply it in one direction. That doesn't mean stateful because you apply it in one direction. The fact that I'm tracking is how I know to let the return traffic back. So what happens, our traffic goes through a firewall, it breaches the firewall, and let's say I want to go to www.gocloudcareers.com. So I enter www.gocloudcareers.com, my DNS resolves it to the IP address, my computer then sends a HTTP, first it sends a TCP SYN to open up the TCP connection. There's an HTTP request after that session comes in. The HTTP responds and the ACK is allowed back to me. And the reason it is I initiated the connection and the firewall saw me. Now, if you were outside that firewall and you tried to reach me, you wouldn't be allowed in because there'd be no state because the firewall didn't see it. So that's what we mean by state. So I'll give you one last question. Why should I hire you?
I'm very dedicated, and I put everything that I put all my whole in. I'm very dedicated, and
Okay, like, you know what? That's there. What are the things that hiring managers care about when you ask them? They care about the following. Are you competent enough to do the job? Are you energetic? Are you enthusiastic? Are you passionate about the job? Do you bring out the best in others? Are you willing to go above and beyond? And being a great team player. So why should I hire you?
I'm very passionate about what I do, and I'm a great team player. I work well with people, and I collaborate very well with others. And I make sure, I try to make sure that whenever there's a project that needs to be done or we're running late, I do everything I can, just very dedicated, making sure that I, get it done and bring the team together to make sure that it's done and it's completed successfully.
Okay, excellent. So let's go through what happened. One thing that I observed very quickly there, Eve, is you are very teachable, which means you're very intelligent and you can learn very, very quickly. The way you retook that why I should hire you question was exceptionally good. That was really good. Started off a little weak. I gave you a couple of things that I care about, and you conquered that like a sledgehammer. So I love that. What I would say is a couple things upon noticing. It feels like we need to give you a lot more cloud knowledge and security knowledge, but that's okay. You can just train it. Say you need a little bit more knowledge about how firewalls work and stateful appliances like that. Say you need to learn a little bit more about the content delivery networks and how to secure an enterprise from the outside in. But it was a really good start. And the key is you're very teachable and you're also very likable and you're also well spoken. So the key for you is going to be building up the technical piece and focusing on the tech piece. So the advice I have for you, if you like security, is security, and more security. Stay out of coding, stay out of scripting, stay out of DevOps or other people's careers, but really learn that security. So obviously, if you wanted to train with us, we could coach you, but you can get good security information from Cisco, Palo Alto, Juniper Networks, Checkpoint. Go out there and read it. Go out there and learn about operating systems and operating system vulnerabilities. Learn about some malware and attacks. Learn about how these next generation firewalls work, the VPN concentrators, the IDS, IPS systems. Learn about when it's acceptable to use something like WAF versus when, which is most of the time where it wouldn't be good enough. Really get used to learning how to harden systems, like patching them, disabling unnecessary services. You did really good. So it's just an issue of proving and tuning. But you did really good. You stepped up, and this is scary stuff. So the tunability and the teachability that you have is excellent. You went from the why I should hire you, which was not a great answer, to a fantastic answer in 3 seconds. That is exceptional. So what I would say is learn a little bit more about the network, learn a little bit more about the cloud, learn a little about the security. And why am I saying the network of the cloud? Because if you do security, it's going to be in the data center of the cloud. And guess what? It's identical. Nothing changes. The only thing that changes is in the cloud, we use a network load balancer to front end 2 virtual firewalls. And in the data center, we might use an F5 network load balancer to load balance 2 physical firewalls. Or we might use the auto things there, and maybe our firewalls use HSRP versus something different there. But the point is it's almost the same. So Eve, good job. Very good job.
Thank you.
Work a little more on the networking, the cloud, and the security, but good job.
Thank you.
Good job. You've got the fire in you, as Gabe said. Gabe is there. Just keep pushing. Chop away at it a little bit each day, to chop the tree down. It's a couple of swings of the axe. Keep doing it until you're done, and you're going to get there. You're definitely going to get there. So thank you.
All right. Great job. So let's see. Who do we have next? We've got the next one is going to be Sam. Sorry, I got to find them. All right, so this is going to be Sam. All right.
Do I know Sam?
I don't know. I don't think so. Sam, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Hello,
Perfect.
everyone.
Hello, Sam. How are you today?
I'm great, Mike, and you?
I'm doing fantastic. Sam, I'm so honored that you came to join us today. Sam, I'm the CEO of Juliet Kilo Lima organization. And what we do is we make cat toys. I don't know how we ended up into doing this. I bought this little cat, Cindy. The next thing I realized, she needed toys. I bought a 3D printer. She liked it. I then bought 50 3D printers, and I started printing out cat mouses. And the next thing I realized, I've got 100 3D printers in my house and 10 people that are running around from 3D printers picking up cat things every day. And clearly this is not working, and I need some kind of advanced technology solution so we can get the 100 3D printers out of my house into a factory, and I can allow creative people from all over the world to draw cool pictures and photos of cats. So could you tell me a little about yourself?
Absolutely. Thank you, Mike, for having me, and thank you for this opportunity. I'm Sam, and I'm a highly motivated individual and energetic as well. I have a background in mechanical engineering as well as business administration. Through my educational career, I've taught and I've done some research. I've also been an auto mechanic apprentice, through which I've helped clients or customers solve their problems. My cloud journey started about six months ago, and I'm currently with Go Cloud Architect, where we help transform businesses. Through these experiences, I've developed a good leadership and communication skills, problem-solving skills, and I've learned to be a team player as well. And with that, I've learned to appreciate failings and challenges and to use them as learning opportunities to grow. And as a team player, I've learned to go above and beyond to learn whatever is necessary to get the job done and to help organizations meet their goals and to help solve their challenges.
Okay, very, very interesting. So how long have you been with Go Cloud Architects?
I've been with Go Cloud Architect for about 2 weeks now.
Okay, so fantastic. All right, what kind of technology projects have you worked on?
I've worked on helping businesses reach out to the market with developing cloud environments or moving to the cloud from their premises.
Okay, so that sounds pretty good. So tell me, what is a 3-tier architecture, what goes into it, and why it's designed the way it is?
A 3-tier architecture is an architecture where you have someone who is able to help resolve issues for a company on site, compared to a one tier where, for example, you call an office and you have a receptionist. She tells you, hello, I can help you, or I could move you up to the next tier. The receptionist can really help you solve your problems. But with a 3 tier, you have experts in the field on site where they can, once you call, they can help you solve your issues.
Okay, what kind of architecture are you referring to? Because I was referring to things with web servers, app servers, and database servers, but what were you referring to?
I was referring to 3 tier in general.
Oh, are you referring to 3-tier technical support?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, okay. That's good. So let's talk about the difference between block storage and object storage.
Absolutely.
When would you use block storage and when would you use object storage?
I'll use block storage whenever I need. Oh, before I get into that, you have block storage and object storage. Block storage is the preferred storage because it collects your data and it stores them into blocks. And with block storage, you're able to store the data wherever you find, or wherever you have space, or wherever you have a storage capacity. But with object storage, it collects your data and it stores them in object form, or it sees your data as objects. And with the objects, your objects have information as well, and that is referred to as metadata. So whenever
Okay,
you
so
want,
how do we determine which one I need to use?
it is based off what you're trying to do. With object storage, you use mostly for storage where you have a write once and you read many times. But with a block storage, you can store when you need to access them frequently or read and write frequently.
Okay, so how about a swap file on a hard drive? Where does that go?
Can you please rephrase the question for me?
Every server has a swap file or a page file which functions as virtual memory. Where would that go? What kind of storage would that be placed on and why?
A swap, they'll put that on the block storage because you can easily take that out and replace it with another one.
Why would you or could you not put it on object storage?
Because an object storage, it doesn't have the capacity for constant writing on, because with every data that is stored on the object storage, you get a new versions, and with that, you need a lot of object storage capacity, which is not a practical or beneficial option for the organization.
Okay, sounds good. Why is it that I only need to apply a security group on the inbound thing? What is it that the security group's doing or tracking that means that I can only enable it in one direction?
The security group, it is stateful. So it monitors the traffic that goes in and out. So for example, let's say someone is coming into your house, they come in and you know them. So once they're leaving, you give them the permission to leave because you saw them coming. Compared to a stateless option such as an access control list, which means it doesn't monitor the traffic. So pretty much whenever the traffic goes out, you need permission for it to come in. So that's why a security group, you need just to give it access to come in.
Because it's monitoring things. Good. That's actually good. Okay, so I needed to use I need a database type. And I don't need a database brand. I mean a type of database that's going to work with near unlimited scalability and is going to have a flexible schema. What kind of database do I use?
That would be for a database that has a flexible schema. I would go with that would not be a relational database. That's something I'll have to look into right now.
Okay, well, the good news is it's not a relational database. So that's perfect. So
There'll be a
now
NoSQL database.
it would be a NoSQL database. Excellent. If I want to go multi-cloud, what types of NoSQL databases could I use?
If you
Could
choose
I
to
use
go
a DynamoDB or would that cause a problem?
that will cause a problem because that is provider specific. So if you're going multi-cloud, you'll be preferable for you to use something that is cloud agnostic. So it doesn't tie you down to a specific cloud or the other. So
Okay,
an
great. So if I
example,
use like a MongoDB or an Apache Cassandra, I could use it on 3 different clouds at the same time?
absolutely, that'll be a better choice compared to
Okay,
DynamoDB.
while we're at it, we've got a lot of streaming data. I've got 2 options. I've got this Amazon Kinesis thing, which is interesting, and I've got this Apache Kafka thing. I want to use multiple clouds. Which should I use?
I'll definitely tell you to go for the Kafka because just like the case of the DynamoDB, the Amazon Kinesis ties you down to that particular cloud provider. But with the Kafka, you have the option of using it on different cloud provider platforms.
So by using like these pre-made services like DynamoDB or Kinesis, I get locked into a single vendor and I can't leave at all. Is there any reason that anybody would use these things? Or is there some convenience factor that would cause some people, if they're not concerned about high availability and only use a single cloud provider, to consider them?
Can you please repeat the question for me? If you don't?
Yeah, so I'm a CEO, and the thought of a DynamoDB or an Amazon Aurora or a Kinesis seems like the craziest thing in the world to me. Like, why wouldn't I get something from Oracle, which is the industry standard? Or why wouldn't I use a Kafka? Is there any reason that anybody would ever use some of these name-branded services from a cloud provider? And if so, what
Yes,
might that reason be?
yes, there are options. There are options where someone will be willing to do that. In the case for they're not familiar with the cloud and they don't have a lot, they don't need a lot of services to have that managed. So with the cloud, if they decide to go with a single provider, they can have the provider manage that for them. And that would be one of the specific instances where someone would choose to go with that.
Okay, so for organizations that aren't super technical, that have lower technology needs, and are just looking for simplicity and elegance, that would be the recommendation then, and that's the way organizations would use that?
That is an option, but it wouldn't be the recommendation because
Okay, good. And that is a good option for those reasons. I wouldn't recommend it ever either. Those services for me are right for the trash can. But, if I had somebody there, that's okay. So makes total sense. So why should I hire you?
you should hire me because I'm very dedicated and I'll go above and beyond to learn whatever is necessary to get the job done and help your organization achieve their goals and solve their challenges.
Good. Okay, so there were some things that were really solid about this, and there were some things that were not. The first question to tell me about yourself is the most critical question of the interview because it sets the stage. And it's usually the first question. That one didn't go so well. So, for example, right now you've been with us for 2 weeks, and in 2 weeks, we didn't even get to the interview sections. Don't worry about this. You're doing good. But saying you've only been here for 2 weeks, so you haven't had a chance to really learn the technology yet either. So let's go and look at a few things. So what do hiring managers care about? The energy, enthusiasm, emotional intelligence, being a team player, being a hard worker, willing to go above and beyond. Now, you've been with us for a very short period of time, but we don't have to talk about the period of time. You said that you did something else for the last 10 years. And then you started talking about cars and a bunch of other things. What was the thing you were saying for the last 10 years?
Or that I'd been a car apprentice and I help customers solve their problems.
Okay, what job were you helping people solve their problems?
As a auto mechanic apprentice.
Okay, well, what did you do? You had another career. What was that?
Teaching and a research assistant.
Okay, so ding, ding, ding. We're in a big position. So I'm Mike. I'm currently with Go Cloud Architects as a cloud architect. I have extensive background as a teaching assistant and training and developing and bringing out the best in others. These roles had a lot of communication, a lot of customer service, and a lot of solving people's problems. And with that kind of experience, I feel right at home designing cloud architectures because I've been solving people's and customers' problems for the last decade. Does that sound a little stronger?
Much stronger.
Okay, so here's the key. Your past experience is valuable, and we have to get the people to see it. So you've been teaching, you've been coaching. What architects do, they bring out the best in others. So that's that. So I'm currently with Go Cloud Architects. As a cloud architect. Prior to this, I was a teacher. I got to help coach people into improving themselves, bring out the best in others. And that I've actually been able to look at people, ask about their challenges, and develop solutions for them, their family, so they can have a very successful life and career. Architecture is just about solving problems with technology, and I've been doing this for over a decade. Once you start talking about being a mechanic and all these other things, it's kind of like this. If I told you that I was a doctor or a nurse practitioner, a martial artist, a yoga instructor, a certified strength and conditioning specialist, and as well as a cloud architect, you'd start looking at me like, huh, really? It's just too many things. So the key is, hit it hard. You're a cloud architect. Prior to a cloud architect career, you were a teacher. What's better than that? You're bringing out the best, you're coaching. So hit one and then hit the thing that supports it, and then go all the reasons why your new job your old job is the same as your new job, and move on. So there's that. On the storage piece, it was a little weak, but you haven't had a chance to go through it. You use object storage for things that don't change frequently, such as software distribution, backup, and archival services. Use block storage anytime you need file storage in the cloud that's locally mounted. So block storage is used because it feels like a hard drive. What you got, which I did love, is you knew that object storage was a type of storage area network that broke the data down into objects, and it put very specific metadata on these objects, which I liked. That metadata enables you to search for part of the objects, which I think you got out there, which I like. That metadata can also integrate into big data environments, which you didn't hit on, but was still good. It would have been better if you talked about how the object data is really used for backup, archival purposes, and cannot be used by computers. The computers don't use object storage. That we humans use the object storage to share files and things. So that was very, very strong. Little bit more just technology knowledge in general on the databases. That's fine. It's coming. You've only been with us for 2 weeks and you did great. And just a lot on the intro, you went too long. So this has got to be a 30 to 40 second elevator pitch. Click. Tell me about yourself. I'm Mike. I've been working in technology for over 25 years as a cloud architect, network architect, and an enterprise architect. I've been closing billion-dollar deals, leading teams of 50-plus engineers and architects, and I love to bring out the best in others. I'm published. I'm published author. I've written several books. I'm constantly presenting in front of national industrial conferences, and I'm an expert speaker that the media reaches out to every day for thought leadership comments. So you did very good. I'm just saying we want to get it crisp. And I just made mine up right now, but we want to get it shorter to the point. But it was a very good job. It was a very good start. And for 2 weeks, that's very, very, very impressive. And you know what? 6 weeks from now, 8 weeks from now, I'm hoping it sounds like Millicent's. And I think it will.
Thank you so much for the feedback. I'll work on that.
Good job. You really did good. You really did good. So it's an incremental process. And we can watch what you did, learn a little more each day. And you'll learn how to read your audience, read the interviewer, read their body language. Because here's the thing, we can't hide it. That's why poker players wear glasses, so you get to hide their eyes and their facial expressions. If you look at people, their feet, you'll read them. And when they like it, they're leaning in, and they're nodding. Keep going. If not, start to slow down. If they shake their head, just change topics like immediately. So keep that in the back of your mind. Very good job.
Thank you very much.
I recognize that face. That looks like Mark.
Yes, sir.
What a beautiful house you have there, Mark.
Uh, thanks. Thanks, Mike. I'm nervous, but I'm ready.
Don't be nervous about anything, Mark. So, hi, my name's Michael Gibbs. I'm the CEO of Tango Yankee Uniform Company. I keep looking for 3 random letters on my keyboard. And what we do is we make cloud computing training materials. And what I'm really looking for is another cloud architect to join my team and help other people learn the cloud. So, Mark, tell me a little bit about yourself.
Thank you, Mike, for having me here today. It's a pleasure. I've been looking forward to this position. About myself, I am a cloud architect with Go Cloud Architect, and basically what I do is to I've led teams to build LAMP stacks to support organizations, large organizations. Also, design containers for enterprise-wide computing, and also deployed virtualized servers for VMware ESXi. So I have an extensive knowledge in the cloud and also network architecture.
Okay, so it sounds like you've done a lot of networking and cloud architectures. I really love that. What would you consider architecture to be in your experience? Because there's a lot of confusion on architecture out there.
Yes. So in my experience, architecture is I've designing a system both in the network and virtualized the network to support the organization's need or to meet a solution. So it is necessary. It is not necessarily about configuring and dealing with engineering sector of the entire organization, but it's mainly about having to design an architecture, a solution to a problem, and then then it's been handed over to the engineers to solve and to build it. So architecture is basically taking all aspects of the organizational infrastructure and solutions, problems and challenges, and then narrowing it down to one big. So we look at the bigger picture than having to the details of one specific operation.
Here's a question for you. We got hacked about a month ago. I hired somebody that was a AWS certified solution architect professional, but never worked for it before. And they set up something called the Bastion host. And somehow we got hacked through that. How would a Bastion host? What is it? Why was I open susceptible to heavy hacking? Is it a good idea? And why did it fail on me?
Okay. Thanks, Mike, for that question. Bastion host is the worst kind of approach anybody at all can have in a network in an attempt to make someone get access to the organization's resources. Now, let me first start by how we design the security. So first, you start by designing the DDoS. That is, you have the content delivery network, and then you go to the firewalls, and then the IPS IDS. That's the intrusion detection and prevention, and then you go to the ACL, and then you go to the security groups, and then the host-based firewall. You go through all these processes in order to ensure that it will be very difficult for anybody to intrude into the system. Now, if you put a Bastion host, what you're doing is that you're putting a jump start. So you're looping over the entire security system and giving someone easy access into your organization and the entire infrastructure. So you haven't spent all that into making sure that your organization is secured. I believe that Bastion host is the worst kind of thing you can do to the organization by implementing it.
Oh, I'm so glad you said that to me, because you know what? We have firewalls, IDS, IPS systems, and access lists, and I couldn't understand how we were hacked. What you're saying is he just stuck something out there and he bypassed all my security.
All the security straight into your
All the
system.
security.
So, right. So having spent
Well, that's
all
very
that,
scary.
right.
That's pretty
Yeah.
scary. So here's a question for you. We currently have about 10 web servers, and they're running at about 80%. And they're sitting in our data center. I've been afraid to put these web servers in the cloud because, those cloud people are scary. But the web servers are old, and I'm not feeling really good about them. And I'm either willing to buy new servers or go to the cloud. Now, I've spoken to some people. I spoke to some people at Go Cloud Architects that typically like hybrid cloud solutions or multi-cloud solutions, and they had reasons why. But they also said web apps are good for the cloud. So could you tell me why, where I should put this, a data center in the cloud, and why I'd want to put it in either one of these locations? And the
Thanks,
benefits of each,
Mike.
so to speak.
Thanks, Mike. If I get your what you're saying is your servers are old. My first approach as an architect, I can't design anything right now, but I first need to look what organization needs are at the moment and what they're trying to obtain solutions before I can really do anything in detail. However, if there is any for anything to be done within short for the temporal, we can design multi-cloud so still organization. But if for me to design something detailed, I would need more than just what.
Yeah, absolutely. You're starting to break up audio-wise.
Can you hear me now?
Mark, try and shut off your camera right now and see if we'll be able to hear you. It looks like we have a bandwidth problem. Mark, can you talk now?
Can you hear me?
Oh, perfect. Okay, now we're good. So, Mark, I am so thankful that you didn't just redesign my entire architecture without asking me about my business first. I got to tell you, I've proposed this to numerous engineers, and they've already redesigned my systems before they even asked about my business. So thank you for knowing not to do that. Now,
My
in
pleasure.
general, outside of my business, what would be the advantage of hosting a web app in the cloud versus hosting a web app in a traditional data center? For most other things, it's not so cut and dry. But, I've spoken to a lot of cloud architects, and they say web apps really benefit well from the data center, from the cloud, I'm sorry. Could you tell me why web apps generally do well in the cloud?
Yes, because the cloud is agile. So for agility's sake, and it's easy for you to, if depend on maybe the time of the year where maybe you have certain a high demand on the web servers, that that's where it will benefit the organization. However, I will still insist on knowing a lot more information before giving any more design infrastructure.
Mark, that really sounds great. So, Mark, if I want to connect to two different internet service providers and I want to
Yes.
load share across both links, I need some kind of specialty routing protocol to make that happen. What is it?
We're gonna need the BGP. Now, BGP is used by organizations to share routes, distribute routes. So we're going to need BGP to do that. In order to do that, we need the. It depends if internal communicate routing protocols. We're gonna use an IBGP. That's an internal gateway routing protocol. But if it's an external, we're gonna need EBGP. That's external border gateway protocol for outside communication.
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to connect to two internet service providers. We're going to have to run EBGP to both internet and service providers. And if we're going to get our two internet facing routers to talk to each other, we'll have to use IBGP. And of course, for that reachability between our IBGP peers, we'll use an interior gateway protocol such as OSPF. Exactly.
That's right.
But so I know there's this thing called NAT, network address translation. And, when I ask the engineers, they say it's to connect to the internet. Could you think of any other use cases where I would want to translate a private address to a different private address, for example, or a private address to a public address?
Oh, okay. So NAT, network address translation. Yes, it helps the organization to translate. The reason for NAT is now if I go back a little bit, network address translation was we were run out of IP addresses, so it was introduced as a solution to keep down the IP address shortages. So not it serves as a translation between private addresses for within the organization and then translate it to a public address outside of the organization. So it depends on where the organization. Yeah. So not also with the service providers, we have the NAT that is used mainly for the instances to only go on an egress communication, but not to come back ingress.
Okay, but other than connecting to the internet, there's a lot of other reasons organizations use NAT. Could you think of another reason other than egress and ingress to the internet an organization would use NAT?
Yeah, yeah, it translates private address into the public, and then vice versa, public address into private.
Can NAT translate a private address to another private address?
No,
It can.
it can. Okay.
It can. So where I was hoping you'd get to is if I'm company A and I'm on the 10.8/8 address space and I just buy company B who's also on the 10/8 address space, we need to use NAT to talk to each other.
Okay. Okay. I think,
But
to be honest, I haven't thought about that or research on that, but I thought it basically is used for external
and that's okay.
communication.
But that's one of the many reasons organizations use NAT. So totally fine. We have a web app in the AWS cloud. And the
Okay.
web app has 10 web servers, which means it's got a load balancer in front of it. Do the web servers have a public IP address, or does the load balancer get the public IP address?
As a load balancer, I will get the public IP address.
Perfect. What does
Because, yeah.
AWS call a public IP address? Their goofy term?
Oh, elastic IP address?
Yeah, elastic IP address. I mean, I don't know if the IP address is stretched or not, but I don't
Stretching
know.
it.
They call it elastic IP address.
Mhm.
So, could you give me an advantage of multi-cloud over single cloud?
Yes, multi-cloud, it basically means that you eliminate any single point of failure, because AWS or Azure, if you're connected to just one cloud, they could go down, and when they go down, it means your business or lag or have problems. Now, with multi-cloud, you eliminate the idea of a single point of failure, which means that every time you have one service provider going down or having problems, you still can operate, having redundancy in your environment. So that's what they provide. They make sure that organizations can continue to run.
Why should I hire you?
Because I believe I possess the relevant experience, and I've been out there. Customer success and customer satisfaction has been my passion, and I'm enthusiastic. I am energetic, and I believe I can contribute a lot more to the organization, having various expertise under my belt and years of experience.
Okay. So let's analyze this. And, Mark, this was an interesting one. And here's what's really interesting about it. You are very technical. You gave me a perfect, we'll use the content delivery network, then we'll use the firewall, then we'll use the IDS IPS system, then we'll use a network ACL, then we'll use a security group. And then what we're going to do is we're going to take a server and put a host-based firewall, anti-malware. You went through it all. You gave me a rock-solid security architecture in less than 10 seconds, Mark, which is pretty interesting. And on the networking pieces, the BGP was relatively solid. Maybe, granted, you don't know about OSPF, but you're not a network engineer. So guess what? You knew the cloud piece, and the cloud only uses BGP. But so, I mean, that was really solid too. In fact, for the most part, I tried to put you down the engineering trap and tried to ask you a question to see if you would solve it. And you said, no, I don't have enough information to solve it. And then I asked you in generic terms, not related to me. Again, you solved it, but you did it in a way where you said, but again, I still need the information. So that entire time I felt comfortable. Now, Mark, what are the two challenges and the three things that I'm going to recommend? One, economy of words. Get to the point faster. Two, Mark, I'm going to recommend the box breathing exercise in our course. And I'm also going to recommend that yoga session in the class. Something interesting happens for all of us, Mark, all of us, but it was especially clear for you. When we get stressed, and I'll tell you this because I used to practice medicine and I love the neurobiology and the psychology of all this. When we get stressed, what happens is our sympathetic nervous system does the following. It emits some hormones called epinephrine and norepinephrine, which the regular people call adrenaline. It gives us cortisol, and what it does is it makes our heart beat faster. It causes our blood vessels to constrict, our pupils to constrict. And here's the thing that happens. It takes our nice, happy prefrontal cortex, the thinking, logical, reasoning part of our brain. It causes it to shut down. It causes the amygdala part of the brain, which is responsible for like fight and flight or freeze, to basically be there and kick in. So I could see in the beginning of the interview for the first question, you were rocking back and forth because you were stressed. And then once we got off that first question, you became alive and you started answering it and you were relaxed and it was good. So please do that. By the way, I've got my own breathing routine. I initially learned this breathing routine from a Navy SEAL, and then I studied 15 years of yoga. And then a couple of Marine Corps snipers also showed me the similar military breathing routine, and it makes a difference. And I use it prior to every speech, Mark. So kind of keep that in the back of your mind. I put the box breathing in the course for that reason. It's used by Olympians, Navy SEALs, and high performance people of all ends. The next part, Mark, is you had so much content in there, and it was so good, but it was a little bit jumbled together. So I'm going to just show you what I mean by this. BGP is a path vector routing protocol that's used for interdomain routing. BGP uses TCP port 179. BGP is eminently scalable and can take in about 800,000 routes. You said that. And you were that detail-oriented, Mark. You are so technical. It was there. Now, Mark, what if you said this? BGP is a path vector routing protocol used for interdomain routing. It uses the TCP protocol, most specifically TCP port 179. Now, does it feel different, Mark, even though I said the same thing? So, Mark, I recommend you make a point, you pause, you collect your thoughts, you make the next point. Did you get that, Mark?
Yes, Mike, I get that. I thank you also very much. Do we still have a lag?
Yeah, I'm still here. We have a lag, but stay on camera. See, here's the thing. You are so likable. And you have so much knowledge there that I'm going to have you try this. BGP is a path vector routing protocol. So BGP, emphasize it, pause, and then say, is a path vector routing protocol. Try that.
BGP is a path vector routing protocol.
Now, a little more. We're going to vary your vocal tone. We're going to add a little more memory. BGP is a path vector routing protocol.
BGP is a path vector routing protocol.
Yes. Do it again. Do it again. Now you're sounding like an executive.
BGP is a path vector routing protocol.
Yes, exactly. Everybody here, can you see it? Can you feel it? Does he feel alive? Marla's got extreme gravitas and executive presence, and she's saying perfect. Leo's clapping his hands. That's what I was looking for. Everything that's in you is so good. We just need more people to see it. So good move on the suit. Strong move. I would never go to an interview not being in a suit. Here's the thing. The data from Harvard is clear. 55% of communication is what we look like when we say something. That suit got you 20% extra points. 38% is what we sound like. And 7% is the content. So when I tell you to vary your vocal tone, pause, wear a suit, realize that's the 93% of the conversation. Only 7% was all that genius stuff that was in your head, which was all genius, Mark. I mean, that was rock solid, smart, genius stuff. So practice that. So I have a couple of stuffed animals I used to put on the wall, and I would practice that. I had an executive coach. I would take speech training, and I would practice pausing on different things. And then they said, go ask some of your friends that are trial lawyers. Watch what they do. They did the same thing. So that's my recommendation, and that's going to take this, which was 100% words were almost perfect, and it's going to elevate it to the same thing, but it's going to be you know, you in the tuxedo that cost $50,000 with the $1,000 shoes, you're going to look like that. Versus, you know, it's kind of the same thing. I have my car. It's a nice car. It's a good car. And I hadn't had it washed in a year. Why? Because I'm too busy running a company to worry about it. My wife took it and got it washed and waxed. And I look at this and went, oh my God, I have a really nice car. It's the same car. And we're just talking about polishing things up, Mark. Great job, mate. Great job.
Thanks, Mike. I do appreciate everything. And Chris, I would say this, that before I joined GoCloud, I was just all over the place. But I spoke to you for like just about 3 minutes, Mike, and you put it all together for me. Then thanks. I mean, words cannot express how much I appreciate everything you've done. And you're the guru. You're the guru, Mike. Thank you.
You're going to bring me
And
to tears again. You're the
and
third person
everything.
that has brought me to tears. Mark, I'm so grateful for you. I'm so grateful
Thank
for
you.
everything you said. Darn it, the third person brought me to tears today.
Thank
And
you.
this is a person that used to get invited to go train with the world's greatest martial artists in the world. So, Mark, I'm so proud. I'm so impressed. I'm so excited. Practice those few things. We'll host another one of these in a couple of weeks. I want you to have another chance because, wow, you're going to be cloud hard very soon.
Thank you, Mike. I appreciate it. Thanks, Mike.
Good to see you, Mark.
Good to see you too.
These things make me so happy when I see something good like this. Great. Chris, you're muted.
So who would you rather hire, the guy in the flamingo shirt or the guy in that suit that we just had on here?
I don't know. No, I hired that guy in the flamingo shirt, and you know that I might need the guy in the suit too.
All right. So we've got two more.
Great.
So the next one is Andrew, and then the last one I'm going to let be a surprise for you.
Okay, I always like surprises.
I know you love surprises. All right. So let me add Andrew in here. All right. Andrew, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
All right. Thank you. Now, Andrew, I know you came from YouTube. Now, are you one of our students, or are you just from YouTube?
I've been following you.
Okay.
Yeah, a long time ago. So I'm really considering registering. Everything I heard today was very impressive.
Gotcha. Your name. I thought I recognized your name, but it's probably just from YouTube. So
it's not. It's a Nigerian name that we have another student with the same name.
Okay. All right.
It's kind of like we have 4 Ios and 3 Addies, that kind of thing. It's really wonderful when we have so many people from all over the world. I just love it. So, Andrew, my name is Mike, and I'm the CEO of Victor Bravo November Company. How are you today?
I'm fine, and I really appreciate you meeting with me today.
Andrew, I am so thankful for you taking the flight in. I know it's a long flight, and I'm very grateful to have you here today. Let me tell you a little bit about what we do at our company. In our company, we provide cloud computing consulting to people all over the world. So I have a team of cloud architects. I actually have about 600 of them. And they actually meet with clients and they ask them about their businesses. And we're known to be the most transformative digital cloud computing architect organization in the world because the people we hire all have a lot of business acumen. We look for people with MBA knowledge. We look for people with deep design knowledge. And our people literally transform organizations. So having a cloud architect like you in an interview is exciting for us. Like I said, we have almost 600 of them. And we're happy to be talking to you today. So Andrew, could you tell me a little bit about yourself?
Yes, first I want to thank you for this opportunity to be interviewed for this position, and I truly appreciate it. Well, I began my career in the IT about 6 years ago, and for the past 5 years, I've been working as a solution architect. During that period, I've been exposed to many services. I've been involved in many projects, start from information gathering and coming up with a more robust solution for our customer. Also, as a solution architect, I've also been involved in planning and designing as well as provisioning some of this infrastructure from start to finish. creating some VPC network, subnet, both private and public in multiple availability zones, leveraging elastic load balancer and also auto scaling for high availability with fault tolerance in mind. I have made use of different AWS resources, such as S3, Lambda function, Route 53, Bastion host, KMS, AWS config, system managers, and CloudFront, and so on. I have implemented security as well at different layers of my infrastructure, creating and enforcing policies such as IAM, bucket policies, and encryptions, both at rest and also in transit. I've also implemented governance at the levels of the organization, making use of service control policy to set and restrict users within the organization unit. So recently, if I can tell you, I was actually involved in a project where one of our clients is really concerned about the risk of losing his infrastructure, because there are some times within the period of years that they normally experience high traffic. And during that time, they noticed that their website is completely unresponsive. So, and I am actually part of the team that comes up with a solution around that problem. And what we implement is to we implemented some AWS services such as auto scaling and elastic load balancers, and we automate the environment so that anytime there is a high traffic, the infrastructure can automatically scale to absorb some of those high traffic. So these and many other projects that have been involved in my past experience that I think would be very much valuable when I come to your organization.
Okay. I was asking you about yourself, but okay. Let's get into your technical things. So you kept spouting off the name of a bunch of AWS services. Like I heard ELBs and S3s and this thing and that thing. What are they? Could you start with could you start with telling me what a load balancer actually is and how it works and why I would use it?
Okay. Yeah. Elastic Load Balancer is actually one of the AWS services tools that perform an health check on a server, and that can actually trigger auto scaling whenever there is a need for it. It actually distributes traffic equally on different servers. So, for example, we have multiple servers right now. It distributes those traffics equally to that server, and that is very much applicable with respect to what we're experiencing with our last client that was having a huge problem because the traffic was so high at a period, maybe during the holiday period, and their server could not. It was putting a lot of stress on the server. So by implementing auto scaling and elastic load balancer, we were able to easily solve that problem.
Okay, so I had asked you about a load balancer, how load balancers works, and you told me about elastic load balancers. Are they the only kind of load balancers that are out there?
Yeah, we have the application load balancer, we have the network load balancer as well.
But are they all just elastic load balancers, or does F5 make them? Does Google or anybody else have them?
No, it depends on the cloud providers. Those cloud providers have their own different load balancers as well.
Okay. So, gotcha. So, let's talk about when I would use, say, a direct connection versus when I would say use a VPN. Could you give me the business use cases and the type of traffic use cases that would help me determine which one I should use?
Direct Connect, for example, I will recommend Direct Connect with respect to, say, for example, when we want to perform a migration, or we want to transfer data transfer from on-prem to the cloud. But with respect to VPN, maybe if I am within a data center and I want to connect from on-prem and connect to the cloud environment.
Okay, I'm going to ask you one last question. Why should I hire you?
Thank you. Well, we know that cloud is very wild, is a wide field, and we need someone that have a very solid understanding about cloud infrastructure, someone that is very much adaptable, someone that can collaborate very well with their other colleagues, and someone that can interact seamlessly with clients. Most of these characteristic is what I am personally going to bring on board if I'm hired. In addition to that, I'm a fast learner, and I possess an excellent problem-solving capability. And most of the things, the challenges that we may face, I'll make sure that I work hard to make sure that I did it very well.
Okay, so let's kind of analyze that. So I'm going to be honest. There were some things that were good. There were some things that were not. But the first question that kicks off an interview, to tell me about yourself, you have no more than 30 to 40 seconds to answer that question. And it needs to be direct, it needs to be fast, and it needs to be strong. I'm Andrew. I've been a solution architect for 5 years now. I'm highly energetic, I'm highly motivated, and I absolutely love technology. And I love making customers' businesses better through the use of cloud technologies. That fast. If it's any longer than that, it's too much.
Thank you.
In fact, if it goes above 60 seconds, your chances of being hired, I'd say, are 30%. And if it goes above 2 minutes, your chances are 0. So it's that important to get that intro thing that's pretty there. The other thing that I'll tell you in that intro, do not start spewing off acronyms or buzzwords. The second you talk about ELBs and ALBs and S3s, the interview is over. They're trying to have a conversation with you. Did you remember who the audience? Did you hear who the audience was when they introduced themselves to you?
Yes.
Who was that person?
CEO.
What was he was the CEO.
Yes.
What does the CEO care about? Increasing shareholder value, making the business more profitable,
Yes.
making etc. Does the CEO even know what an elastic load balancer is?
No.
No. And do they want to know? So I know it was a CEO that was asking you technical questions, but kind of pay that attention because CXO relevancy is critical for the architect. So then what the other thing that really pigeonholed you into a big problem is you spewed off a bunch of AWS services. Do you know what percentage of customers are only using a single cloud right now?
No.
3%.
Wow.
Which means 97% don't believe in a single cloud. Which means if you only spew off AWS terms, 97% of employers won't be interested in you. So what you should have said is, when you talk about technology, if I asked you I said, tell me about load balancers. I'll give you a minute to get it. That's okay. We all have stuff going on in our life. So if I said, tell me about load balancers, if you had said, load balancers are a device that improves availability and performance, the way load balancers work is they enable you to load share across multiple servers. Typically speaking, there's two kinds of load balancers. There's network load balancers are used when you need really good speed and performance because the functionality is very simple. Application load balancers are used when you need intelligence, the ability to look at things, route between microservices, look into an HTTP or HTTPS header. So those are the kinds of load balancers. Load balancers can be in the data center via things like F5. Load balancers can be AWS, and they're called elastic load balancers. Load balancers can be used in Google. They're called cloud load balancers. load balancers can be used in Azure, and they're called Azure load balancers. So always start with the technology long before you mention any single vendor service, because they need to know that you know it. Here's the other reason it matters so much, Andrew. When it became clear that you weren't sure what a load balancer was, but you knew the AWS ones, what am you really going to be asking you to do, Andrew? To take the things from the network and the data center and migrate them to the cloud, right?
Yes.
If I don't think you understand my network and the data center, am I comfortable with you moving them to the cloud?
No.
So if you call a virtual machine and not an EC2 instance, if you call a load balancer, if you call block storage, if you call object storage, and you call a firewall, and not WAF, and a VPN concentrator, does that prepare you to know exactly what it is in the data center, Azure, Google, Oracle, and AWS all at the same time?
Yes.
So as a general rule, when I go to Greece, I speak to my family in Greece. If I go to Spain, I do my best to speak Spanish, because Spanish people prefer to hear Spanish than English. And, when I'm in America, I speak American, and when I'm in England, I speak English. And yes, I separated them because we speak a slightly different dialect of English, but whatever the case is. So when you speak the business language, which is the generic term and not the stuff that AWS paid marketing people millions of dollars to do, or Google, the CEOs are going to take you much, much, much more seriously, and your customer will as well. So I'd advise you to use the generic industry terms. And when my students do that, I tell them the same thing. And that's why my students were talking more about load balancers and firewalls, because the customer is not going to be okay with a single vendor solution anymore, especially after those 4 cloud outages that occurred this year. Azure had a big one. Google had a relatively big one. AWS kept having outages, and AWS answers to the outages terrified every technology professional in the world, because technology professionals don't like the answer of an impaired network device, because we don't know what that is. And when you tell us that a data center had a power outage, and data centers typically have 2 power companies and generators and backup generators and backup batteries, it scares us. So try and use generic terms. I think you'll be better. Then on the closing, on the why I should hire you, that's your one chance. You should hire me because I've got 5 years experience as a solution architect. I'm highly capable, I'm highly energetic, I'm highly motivated, and I love this technology thing. I'm willing to go above and beyond, and I'm a great team player. And if I was on your team, I would make your life better. Now, if you were the hiring manager and I said that to you, would you be interested in me?
Yes.
So what I'd say is get a little deeper on the tech content. You can learn it on your own, or we'd love to teach it to you. And really elevate out of AWS, elevate into cloud. Because with the cloud, you've got the choice of all the cloud providers. And now if you came to me and said, I'm a cloud architect, I transform customers' businesses through technology. And I say, which cloud? And you say, all of them. A cloud's just a cloud. They're all the same. It's a network and a data center that's been virtualized. Same virtual machine, same load balancer, same firewall, same everything. Do you feel bigger and more powerful?
Yes.
So that's my advice for you.
Thank you.
You motivated, strong, smart, and extremely likable. I'm going to let you in a little secret. When it comes to hiring, do you know likability is one of the biggest factors?
Yes.
So someone that's likable like you, that's pleasant to be around, just hearing your voice is going to make them more likely to hire you. So work with that. You've got extremely precision language, great grammar, and it's proper British English. And I know why it is that way, but the point is people like that. So that's an asset. It's a strength. So maximize that, maximize your fantastic attitude, energy, enthusiasm, passion, which you really have. Get a little more on the tech skills and learn how to just squish it down into shorter time, and you're going to have an incredible cloud computing career. Great job, Andrew.
Thank you. I truly appreciate it. That's really helpful.
And you know what? I'm going to run another one, and maybe a couple of weeks to a month. Chris will determine when the best time is, because I never know when it is. Come back and let me know, because I want to see you get your goals. I really do.
All right. I will. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Andrew.
Thanks.
All right. Well, we'll let you go. Thank you for joining.
All right. Bye.
All right, bye-bye. All right.
Great.
We have one left.
Okay.
All right. So let's bring in Jazz. Jazz, are you there?
Hello, everyone.
Hey, Jazz. All right. I'm going to get out of the way.
Hello, Jazz. My name is Mike Gibbs, and I'm the CEO of Quebec Whiskey Echo Company, and I'm so excited to meet with you today. What we do is we provide cloud computing services. We've got a team of about 500 cloud architects. We've got about 2,000 cloud engineers. We've got about 50 DevOps engineers. And we've got a couple of big data architects that were trained by this big data architect, Praveen, that we know well. He's one of the world's best big data architects and a great cloud architect. So we've got that big data team coming in too. So, and that's something we're expanding upon on. So could you tell me a little bit about yourself, Jazz?
Absolutely. First of all, thank you so much, Mike. I hope you're having a great day. I'm glad to be here. And I would love to tell you about myself. So to start, I am a cloud architect who is highly driven, motivated, and passionate with 10 years of experience in technology. I've also worked in sales for about 7 years, and that has helped me connect with the customers in a different way than I would in technology. So basically, it helps me build relationships with the customers, and I can talk to my customers openly and build those relationships and work backwards from their challenges to provide those business solutions that they're looking for. Now,
Jazz, your microphone's a little goofy. Is there any way we can tune that a little bit?
Sure. Give me 1 second. Let me see if I can change something here.
Yeah, I definitely think it's the microphone. It's not the
I think it's the microphone, so I'd
connection.
like to tune that because what I heard was so good.
Yeah.
I want people to actually be able to hear it.
Is it better now?
Not really.
Is it better now?
Give
me 1 second. Let me connect my headphones here.
Okay. Bear with us, everyone. I have a feeling this one's going to be a really good one to see. I'm liking the way it started off. It started off with strong energy, enthusiasm, passion, and I'm really loving this. So I'm liking to see where this goes. The static almost has a heartbeat-like pattern to it.
Yeah, I was about to say that it's almost like there's a magnet next to something and it's reading. It's like a magnet next to a microphone almost. What's that?
Hi guys, can you hear me now?
Same way.
I'm not sure what's happening here because should I leave the studio, come back in? Chris?
Okay, so click the cam mic button in the bottom.
Yes.
And go to audio. And make sure you have echo cancellation. Check.
It is on, yes.
Okay. And then double check which microphone is being utilized. Make sure it's the right one.
Yes. Can you hear me now?
There we go.
Is it much better?
Yes.
Oh, okay. So, you know what? That's so different. I'm going to start this in the beginning. So, Jazz, could you tell me a little bit about yourself?
Absolutely, Mike. First of all, thank you so much for having me today. I hope you're doing well. It's a great day. I would love to tell you about myself. So I am a highly energetic, enthusiastic, and motivated cloud architect with over 10 years of experience in technology. I also possess sales experience, which helps me connect with my customers in a better level. I can understand their situation and their business challenges and provide solutions by working backwards from their challenges and looking at the business transformation that I can provide to these customers. Now, I have worked in technology for a while and have been able to work with diverse technologies in operations and cloud computing, as well as, all the way down to the infrastructure level where everything starts. So I'm happy to be here. I am, looking forward to this interview, and I would love to talk more about technology.
Sounds great. You said something very interesting there. You said that you like to work backwards. to design the solution. So that's very interesting to me because I like to work backwards too. So could you elaborate on that and tell me what you mean?
Absolutely. So when we are visiting a customer site or meeting with the CXO, CEOs, the stakeholders, right? They have their business challenges and they're worried about the brand of the company. They're worried about the, our what solutions we can provide to actually help solve those challenges because their businesses are being affected, their revenues being affected. So we need to listen to the customer first because if we provide solutions without listening to the customers, those solutions won't actually meet their needs. So, I go to the CEOs, the CFOs, or the CIOs, right? I gather their requirements, make sure that we can have them, sent out to our experts, security experts, our database experts, and make sure we can deliver on exactly what their pain points are.
I love that. I really, really love that. So, in your experience, because it sounds like you've got a lot of experience, what implements a customer to adopt or buy a new technology?
Well, the main thing that implements a customer to adopt or buy new technology is the advantage that it'll give them in their business, or if it will help them solve a previous pain point that they had, right? Because a company's main goal is to grow, be better than the competition, right? And make sure their customers are happy at the end of the day.
I love that. Okay, so when a customer says they have a limited budget, is there any way that you could impact that?
Yes. So there are many solutions, right, where you can actually work with a limited budget. And cloud is one of the best solutions to work with this, right? So if a customer has, let's say, a data closet or an IT closet, right, I'm going to just approach this in a business way where we can transform the customer's pain points and suggest the best solution. So let's say a customer has a data closet or an IT closet with a rack, right, and it has a server that runs their LAMP stack, which is running Linux, Apache, MySQL, and the PHP, right? So for their web servers, and this customer now has an old technologies, and they don't have that much capital to actually expand. We can suggest a solution on the cloud, which is going to be more of an operational expense to them, so they can quickly adapt and be more agile in their business approach. So this way they can compete with the competition. And once they have a strategy in place, we can definitely go back to the CapEx and give them the more control they need in the data center.
Okay, but let's say the customer says they're constrained on CapEx and OpEx at the same time. Is there anything that we can do to influence their buying decision for a transformational thing?
Well, if they are constrained with CapEx and OpEx, right, we can try to see what we can do to improve their current technologies. Maybe add on some things that are not as expensive, or just upgrade their current softwares and patch them better. So we can suggest a couple of things that you can actually do, and also we can, let's say their operational expenses are very constrained, right? We can suggest things like scaling something down, or maybe just start from having a disaster recovery plan, right, for their older technologies that they're currently housing. So at least when they are experiencing a problem, they can recover. So we can go about it depending on their situation, and this will require more of a conversation on what exactly is a constraint.
Okay, good. So let me try and get a little bit of information about your tech background. So could you tell me about what is a load balancer, how does a load balancer work, and why an organization would benefit from it?
That is a great question, Mike. So load balancer, simply put, is basically a software or a hardware device that distributes the incoming traffic onto your servers, right? Multiple servers. And basically it provides efficiency, performance, scalability, and availability to your application and your servers. So if you did not have a load balancer, let's think about it for a second. If you had one server, right, and it did not have any load balancing, or if you had two servers with no load balancing, if one died, you wouldn't know if it's alive or not, or you wouldn't be able to distribute that traffic evenly to those servers because nothing is really working behind the scenes to make sure that the traffic is being distributed the weight is being distributed and the servers are healthy. So what load balancers do is let's say users are logging in, right, with 10,000 requests per minute, right? So if you have two servers that can handle 3,000 requests per minute, or let's say in this case 10,000, so 5,000 requests per minute, right? The load balancers will look at that and say, hey, this service can handle 5,000. Let me send the 5,000 here and the other 5,000 there, right? So this actually helps make sure that the servers are not hitting a bottleneck and they're not going to get overloaded, right? Another reason that you would have load balancers, right, is because today all the apps or applications are very, it requires a lot of scalability, right? For the ability to basically scale on demand according to the high traffic that we're experiencing, right? So the availability is very important, right, for a business, because you will lose money if users cannot access your website or your applications, right? So these load balancers make sure that there's something called a heartbeat or a health check that they will run on those servers, right? And they will keep sending a message to the server saying, hey, are you there? And the server responds back and the traffic is sent to that server. If a server does not respond back, the load balancer will choose the next server, which is healthy, and will send the traffic to that server. A load balancer also improves security of your applications, right? Because nowadays we have highest cybersecurity hacks in the world now. I mean, they're increasing according to a lot of the big security channels. So what we want to do is the load balancers will be sitting in a public subnet in the front end, right, where the servers will be in a private subnet. So this will hide your resources that are very crucial to your business behind a private space, so they're not seen by the intruders. And the load balancer will basically be the one in the front and serves all the traffic evenly to those servers.
Okay, Jazz, I was going to ask you a bunch of technical questions, but that one satisfied me. I get it. You're technically competent. So let's figure out and talk more about you. So let's talk about impacting an organization's budget. Let's say you now have an organization that says they have no budget, but all organizations can have budgets if we influence the budget as an architect. So let's say you start evaluating a new project, say it's a web app project, and let's say this web project can really help the customer's business, but it's $10 million and they say they don't have it. Is there any way you can convince that customer to spend that $10 million, even if they had to finance it?
Yeah, so first of all, we have to look at the opportunity cost here, right? So when you are talking to customers, right, they're having a business that's like $10 million at the moment, right? And, there's going to be some pain points where the business is not growing, right? And as long as the customer keeps the business as is and they're not willing to actually allocate a budget for the new projects, right, they're losing opportunity to be somewhere they're not at the moment, right? So their competition can get ahead. So we have to, as architects or business leaders, we have to make sure we can evaluate the return on investments from our projects that we recommend, and we got to make sure that we can basically, visualize or give them a visualization of the opportunity cost that's involved in the process. So opportunity cost will be something that you're basically not taking advantage of, right? You're not taking advantage of some agile, technology that can transform your business and put you ahead of the curve, right? So once you can basically present that in the right way, the customer is usually on board.
And that sounds great. Now, to be fair, I'm hiring architects, so I'm not hiring programmers or people that do that kind of nonsense, because that's not architecture. We have a team of programmers that actually develop our computing software for us, and that's critical to our business, but that's from our software team. We've got a team of DevOps engineers that really do the automation out from our design, so obviously I wouldn't want that as an architect. But have you had an experience, are you familiar with DevOps pipelines? Do you at least know what Jenkins, Spinnaker, Git is, that kind of thing? So if we ever have a conversation, if you don't, that's no big deal. We can have you do an in-service with that team. I'm just curious if you have any familiarity with DevOps or operations or anything like that as well.
Well, to be a successful architect, in my perspective, is to know the technologies that we can use to design our solutions, right? So I'm constantly, familiarizing myself with technologies that can actually play into part of my solution. But as an architect, my main thing is to design and transform the business. So I would have my DevOps team look at it further if needed, but my job would be to make sure I look at your business needs and provide a solution to actually make sure your business gets better, the brand gets better for the company. So this is the transformation that I'll provide. And then I can have my specialized team that are under me. We can work together as a team with experts to provide you that, engineering background that you need.
Excellent. And that's what I was hoping for. See, here's what happens. I get a lot of people that want to become architects, and they study sysops, they study DevOps, they study Python. And basically, they've studied everything other than system design. And then I want to put them in front of a customer for a $2 billion architecture. And they're like, you've given me a software engineer, which is great. But Mike, I have software engineers in the software department. I need an architect to transform my business. So you've told me exactly what I wanted. I wanted to know that you were purely focused on architecture, that you weren't a jack of all trades, that you knew architecture. Because for this position, I need a serious architect. I need someone that's focused on architecture. I want you looking at the big picture, and I don't want you getting, zoned in on one little thing. I wanted to make sure you could stay focused on the big picture. So I'm very happy to hear that. So tell me why I should hire you.
Well, first of all, I'm highly enthusiastic. I'm driven. I'm motivated. I go the extra mile for my customer every single time. I make sure that whenever project I take it on myself to make sure I'm there for the customer from the beginning to the end. So whether that's coordinating the whole team to make sure that we can actually find that deadline, make sure we meet those deadlines, make sure we deliver with cost-effective solutions, make sure that we are there with you and you are satisfied at the end. And I'm always learning new technologies. I've taken part in co-authored exam guides and continuously take part in publications.
Wait. You said you co-authored a book?
Yeah, an exam guide with my team.
What kind of book?
It's actually it's a knowledge base, basically helps the cloud community with the AWS preparation. So me and my team, we actually got together and we co-authored this, and we spent many hours outside of our regular work hours to give back to the community. So these are the things that help me, and I love helping others. That's my main thing, right? So I always go the extra mile, and I'm always happy to work with my Go Cloud family and make a difference in others' lives.
Okay, well, if I were to make you an offer, would you be interested in it?
Absolutely, we can talk further, and I'll be happy to talk further with this offer. Thank you.
Okay, good. So let's go over that, Jazz. First, I'm enormously happy. The only thing that I want to fix on that is when I asked you to tell me about yourself, it went on too long. The rest of it was 100% perfect, and exactly the way my cat Cindy would say it, or Eva Doike would say it right now. Perfect. And even though it was a little too long in the tell me about yourself, the content in the tell me about yourself was still so good that it would still be cut perfect. But you hit it about the happy customers. You had the right energy, the right enthusiasm. You used that shut down the interview technique of mine. Or when I asked you about load balancers, you gave me so much load balancer knowledge, I had no technical competency. You also filled me out as an architect, like a true architect and a true CEO. And the main architects that are real architects only do architecture. And the technical architects, which are not really architects, they're basically engineers that are doing these jobs where they're doing some coding and some scripting. You sent me the very clear signal. You're a real architect. You're not like an engineer trying to pretend to be an architect or even to get hired as an architect. So I believed you. It was strong. It was direct. It was to the point, but it was technically good. It was business good. I asked you about the business case, about finding budgets, and you talked about ROI models and opportunity cost of spending your money versus one place versus another. That was really solid. It was really solid.
Thank you.
That's getting hired. And the only reason I'm telling you to shorten that tell me about yourself by 30 seconds is it could make a $20,000, $30,000 a year difference in your career, just that piece on the kickoff. Because you're going to get hired either way with an interview like that. But, hi, I'm Jazz. I've been working on cloud solutions for 10 years. And prior to that, I worked in sales. It enables me to relate well to people. help sell products, services, and solutions, connect to others, and deliver exceptional customer service. Cut it off right there. The rest of everything else was perfect.
Noted.
Yeah, Mike, I want to chime in here real fast. Someone asked a question, and I know you went around the question and answered it in even more depth, but I wanted to point out. So someone asked if a hiring manager would ask a coding interview questions or programming or any of that stuff. If you don't give them the chance to, like Jazz, they're not going to, because he didn't give any reason for them to want to ask that question.
Yes.
Because
so if you had coding on your resume or a developer associate thing on your resume, you're going to get asked coding questions. If you put DevOps on your resume, you're going to get coding questions. If you're a Cisco certified internet expert like me and an AWS or a Google professional cloud architect, no one would ever ask me a coding question. In fact, I haven't been asked a coding question on an interview in 20 some years. So there is that. But Daisy, let's one more thing. Architects don't code. Architects design. So keep that in your mind. Now, if you were to go and be interviewed by AWS, they don't give a coding interview to their architects because architects don't code. So I've been an architect for 25 years, wouldn't know how to write a single line of code. My friends that are working at places like Bearing Point or on the Google Cloud, they're not coding because they're architects and architecture system designers. Cloud engineers code, DevOps engineers code. And there's this weird kind of architect called the technical architect, which is an engineer. But it's an engineer that you want to pay them a little more because you like them because they're super of an engineer, and you call them a technical architect, and they might code, but they're not put in front of CEOs. They're not doing architect work. They're not doing system design. It's all just engineering work. So keep that in your mind. So Daisy, it was wonderful having you here. And just that, I'm so thankful you asked that question. And here's the problem. So many people want to become cloud architects, and they start learning coding, and they start learning SysOps and DevOps. And then when it comes to being hired as an architect, they don't have the architect skills. They've got the SysOps, the DevOps, and the coding skills. So I'm really thrilled that you came here. I'm thrilled you asked that question. And anything we can do there, Daisy, to help you. Oh, Praveen. Wow. Praveen was one of my students. Praveen is now a working cloud architect for a big bank. He was a big data architect like that. Arun was another one of my students. Arun was a guy who was very technical. We had to remove all the programming and things from his resume to get him hired as a cloud architect. He's now working as a cloud architect. He's extremely heavy. Praveen, I'm honored by even you mentioning this. Just knowing you, Praveen, has been a blessing in my life, and I'm just really thankful and grateful. And so Jazz, I'm blown away. I'm super excited.
Thank you
This
so
has
much.
gotten so strong. I'm so happy. You have no idea.
Thank you. It was actually Chris. You want to give him the little context there?
What? I was just like, you got. I poked and prodded. I just kept poking.
It was very last minute, but I'm happy Chris, gave me the opportunity to do this because I was literally swamped today.
Yeah, well, you don't have anything else going on in your life other than, you've trained with us, you've got a full-time job, you're in a special program with a few other select individuals that helps me deal with, all the incoming things that are coming at me all directions. So, I'm very grateful you came in last minute
for you.
with no prep. He delivered an all-star interview.
Thank you so much, everyone. I really appreciate the love that everybody's giving in the comments as well. I appreciate everybody, and I really hope the same for everybody as well. I'm still getting better, and Mike obviously has transformed so many lives, and we're always going to be grateful for Chris and Mike because Chris runs the show too, and we have to appreciate him. We don't say it enough, but Chris, we appreciate you, and Mike, you as well. Thank you so much.
Jazz, thank you, but really thank you for Chris. Most people don't know how much stuff Chris does because the operations people are usually behind the scenes. People don't know. Chris does a lot to make our students successful, and he means everything to me.
So I want to point out the book that Jazz talked about is an actual book. It's the book that that is printed under the Go Cloud Careers name.
Yes.
He and several other students contributed greatly to that. So the link that we provide in our chat boxes and through our website and through our social media platforms is the book that he and other students contributed to. as part of their work with Go Cloud, which is an opportunity that only students and participants in our program are able to take advantage of, as well as helping produce content for boot camps like the AWS boot camp that we did 2 weeks ago. I'm fairly certain at least one of the people, if not two of the people that interviewed earlier, contributed to both of those as well. I know Millicent did.
I
But
know
I'm
Millicent did. I know Eva Doiku who's here did, and
You're
Child
right.
did.
But I'm
And
just
I'm
saying,
pretty sure
those
Mark did.
Those are things that people, that Jazz, rightfully so, can promote in an interview.
Oh
That,
yes, please do
and,
so.
And he was the first one that did it. There was 3 people that had the opportunity today, and he was the first one that actually did it. And that can be a game changer in an interview, or on a resume if you're trying to get through the people looking at the resumes, if they see publishing a book. Or
Yes.
Yeah.
You have co-author a book on passing the AWS Certified Solution Architect Professional Exam. Big stamp out there. Yo,
Yes.
I've done this.
And if I can add, Mike and Chris, I believe as architect, we are supposed to give back to the community with the knowledge base, right? So this is one of our biggest thing, right? You have to be willing to educate the cloud community. And I think giving is the biggest happiness. So I believe you should wear it proudly. So
yeah, Robert just commented that he's used it twice in interviews so far. The fact that Robert has 2 interviews that he's used it in, period. He could, ever since the LinkedIn thing that you guys did with Robert, the Bob Welch, he's getting interviews left and right, and being able to plug the book. So,
and they all came out of last week when I decided we were going to have a LinkedIn day, and I was going to teach everybody how to build the brand on LinkedIn.
Yep. So,
yes.
Anyway, I saw that pop in. I saw somebody asking about the actual book, so I wanted to clarify that the book that's scrolling across the bottom of the screen right now is the book that Chaz contributed to.
Well, Robert had over 10 recruiters reach out to him since we went on LinkedIn.
Yep.
Thank you so much for the session, guys. You guys do a lot of
that was really great. Thank
you, Chaz. We'll let you get back to everything else that you're doing in the world. So,
thank you so much.
Thank you.
Take care, all.
That's it. That's all we've got. So, what would you like to do now, Mike?
Let's do this. I think everybody's had hopefully a good time. I hope everybody had a good time. I did see a question that popped up the stream about project management experience. That is a strong asset for the architect, because as an architect, there'll be proof of concept, and there might be 10 cloud engineers or 20 that we're managing tasks on. And project management experience is something that looks good. So any kind of leadership experience looks good. Any kind of soft skills experience looks good. Presentation experience looks good. Those kind of things look really great. So, Kay, I just wanted to close that for you. Leaving your project management on there is a good thing. What you're trying to do is anything that shows you as customer facing, leadership building. The world has this connotation that, and it's, I just watched this TV show Bull. And on the TV show Bull, it's about a jury consultant. And in the last episode that I saw, we're going to bring on a data scientist on the witness stand. And the jury expert said, don't let the data scientist get in the weeds. Don't let him talk about data. Let him just explain what the results mean. And this guy got there and he talked about linear regressions and this kind of statistics and that kind of statistics. And then he talked about it, and the jury basically couldn't understand a word. So what we're trying to do is avoid that deep technical brand, because somehow people think if we're deeply technical, and look, I'm a CCIE and I take personal offense to this because I'm deeply technical too. But they assume if we're deeply technical, they've got to hide us in a room and we're not going to be socially smart and talk to people. So for that architect, if we have too much technical in our brand, it often knocks us down. So we want to have enough technical to show that we can design, that we can lead in how it works without being bogged down in the weeds. We want to show our digital transformation. I did this for this business and it improved this business by this number of percent, improved productivity by XYZ%, that kind of thing. So technical is good. Project management stuff is great.
And there's another one that came in earlier that I wanted to bring up.
Matt over cloud, it's a great question. When you go on these interviews, it depends the kind of interview and it depends who the interviewer is. If the interviewer is part of the leadership and they're going to be less technical, give less technical examples. If you're interviewing with the more technical people, give much more technical examples. So for example, as an architect, you might interview with an engineering team or an engineering manager. You might interview with a VP. You might interview with somebody from marketing, and you might interview with 2 or 3 other architects. And for that, when you talk to those tech people, you got to be techie, because otherwise they're going to just think you're a lightweight. And if you talk techie to the leadership, you're escorted out of the room. And in between those people, it's being able to read them out, read their body language. Now, if you were to talk too techie to me, even though I understand it, I'm going to look like this. I'm going to look bored. And if you're starting to talk about business and things that excite me, I'm going to lean forward because that's who I am. So it's kind of more of that feel out your audience. But for the executives, non-technical example. For your techies, technical example. For that in between, you got to feel them out. It's a great question there, Matt Overclock.
Yep. Yeah, that one came in a while ago, but I've been keeping an eye on it so we could.
No, I think that's really a great question. And, you know, I'm really grateful that we've had so many wonderful people spend so much time with us today. I hope we gave you guys a lot of really good things and some good tips, because I want everybody getting what? Cloud hired. So actually, let's do this. If you can all type hashtag cloud architect and also type hashtag cloud hired. That way I know that we're all here and we're having fun. I'm so happy to hear that, Kay. So happy. Marla, yes. Anybody with the blue wrench, and actually all of you, but those blue wrench people here are especially appreciated. Love having all of you from all over the world. Actually, after we do the cloud hires and the cloud architects for fun, let me see where you're all at in the world. I spoke to some Cameroonian people that were there today. That I saw that were there. I saw some names where people were in Nigeria, which is always really great. I know we had some people in today that were in Canada, as well as some people that were here that I know are in South America. So I know some of these names, and it's always kind of exciting. Wow, all over the world. I love this.
I'm going to interrupt this for a good question from Praveen.
Sure. Would-be interviewers from recruiters.
So would I ask Christina to tell me how best to approach the guy that's going to be interviewing me?
Oh, definitely. Definitely. In fact, Praveen, all good recruiters will prepare you for the interview. They will tell you that this hiring manager likes this, 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 and this. And if you dealt with my recruiters, like the ITXL people, yes, definitely. I would call them and say, okay, now I looked at this 42-page job description. What are the 1 or 2 things they want? Yes, absolutely. Bangladesh, I love that. New Jersey, Dallas, wow, Maryland, Virginia.
Yeah, to elaborate more on what Mike was just talking about.
Millicent is in Maryland? Oh, wait. I just saw that Millicent is in Maryland.
Yeah.
And she knows I love Ethiopian food, and the freshest Ethiopian food comes into Washington, D.C. each day. In fact, some of my Ethiopian friends have sisters that work for Ethiopian Airlines. So, Millicent, if you're around there, when it comes to getting Ethiopian spices, I'm definitely going to reach out to you.
Yeah.
I mean, I have some Burberry and Sparrow right now, but I'm definitely going to need some. So thank you, Millicent.
But to elaborate more on what you were talking about, Mike, the recruiter is to give you every advantage that you possibly could. So you ask them for everything. Ask them for every tip, every inside information, everything that they could possibly. And if they don't volunteer it, they're probably not that great.
Yeah, so. And if it's a really good recruiter, let's pretend right now Chris is the CEO and the hiring manager. Hey, Chris, it's Mike. I'm from ITXL. How are you today, Chris?
I'm all right. What can you do for me?
You know, you told me you needed a cloud architect, and I got to tell you, I just spoke to this guy, Jazz. Jazz is solid. I mean, his level of architecture knowledge was incredible. His business acumen was credible. He speaks well. He writes well. Would you like me to set up a time for you to talk to him?
Yeah, if he can do the things that are necessary at this level to make my job easier and just and get things done, then I need to see him.
Yeah, and I know he's the guy. So let me try and see when I can connect you at a time that's convenient for you both.
Yeah, and I trust you. I've worked with you long enough. I know that you're not going to bring me anybody that's worthless. So
no, I wouldn't do that. Okay, now I just called Chris. Chris has worked with me for the last 10 employees. I just told him Jazz is the person he needs. When Jazz walks in, is he biased to like Jazz? He's biased to like him. Someone he trusts just told him, hey, this is the guy.
And
now,
Mike the recruiter knows to tell Jazz to wear cat socks and make sure that I see the cat socks.
Yes,
because I like cats.
I know he likes cats. And, so yes, and as a good recruiter, I'd be able to say, Chris is Mr. Cats. He's a really nice guy, a really good guy, but he loves cats. So if you have a cat, Jazz, because I know you love animals, talk about cats.
Yep.
That's why we like recruiters.
Exactly.
And that's why we have a lot of our own, but we also encourage you to build your own as well. That's exactly the reason. So let's do this. Let's have a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful weekend. Enjoy the weekend. Spend some time with family. Next week, come back after your nice weekend celebration. And for everybody that's there, myself included, we attack next week. If you're working to be a cloud architect, we get aggressive on it next week. If you're looking to accomplish a new personal goal and the best marathon speed, let's go after it. Let's put everything we can into achieving our goals with a laser-like focus, and we'll get the win. So thank you all. It's been an extreme honor and a privilege to communicate with you today. I love being in these kind of conversations with you. It gives us a chance to talk to people. We'll have lots more live training coming soon. We're going to have that free CCNA course coming soon. Please register for the free CCNA training. Please get your free copy of the AWS Certified Solution Architect Professional book. It covers both the associate and the professional exams. And I look forward to seeing you in another day. Take care, everyone.